sometimes comments, we got to, not show up to send a message that this isn't acceptable to the owners. I find that one somewhat illogical reasoning because, we just turn this revenue machine into a payroll machine. I mean, that's what this is, this business. I mean, we try to drive as much revenue as we can, and then it gets put on the field for the most part.
That is Bill DeWitt III last year, right around this time last year, actually, Alex. He was on a podcast with, who was this one with? It was with the Scoops with Danny Mac podcast network. You know what?
Martin?
It was with Martin. That's right. And
Martin?
We used that audio a year ago. We talked about it a lot on the air. And at the time, the Cardinals' attendance was down. It was not down like this, though, Alex. Last night was something I never thought I would see at Busch Stadium. There were 17,675 announced as the attendance for last night. Many of those 17,000 people were not actually in the stands. What do you guys think? 5 to 10?
Oh, yeah.
1,000 last night?
No, it did not surpass 10. I'd say somewhere between 7 or 8.
You could not ask for better weather. Like, this is gorgeous outside. You can't ask for a better night to watch a baseball game than what you got last evening. And I want to say this on the front end before we get into any of the actual conversation. I'm not blaming any fans for not going. I'm simply saying, like, that explanation for not going to the game of the weather, it's not there. This is purely a decision not to go to Cardinals games, which is fine, but it speaks to the fact that there was not that hindrance to go into the game last night where it's 100 degrees in the middle of August. Totally get it. It's the lowest in the history of Busch 3. It's the first time that the Cardinals have sold fewer than 20,000 tickets since a makeup game, which took place in August of 1997 against Montreal. If you go back before that, the first time that they have sold fewer than 20,000 tickets for a non-makeup game since April of 1996. We're talking about almost 30 years since the last time that the Cardinals had this kind of attendance paid at Busch 2, Busch 3, etc. Alex, to me, this appears to be us reaching the floor. I can't imagine that it gets much lower than this. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm still looking too pie in the sky. But what did you make of it last night? You're from here. You grew up with this team. This is your squad, man. Like, Cardinals runs in your blood. What was it like last night to see that?
I mean, it not surprising, but it was trying to think of the best way to frame this. It was a statement from the fans that it was going to get to this point somehow. Like, this is as bad as it's been, and you gave the numbers there, since the 90s. Like, in terms of winning culture and the Cardinals' expectations and a brand, like, we talk all the time about how Busch Stadium and the Cardinals isn't just baseball, it's something for people to do. Well, now people are now showing the Cardinals that you're not even worth my time for just something to go do. There are other things for me to do. Like in the middle of July and August, cool, there's nothing else going on. It's summertime. I want the kids to go. Now you're at the point where this team is so bad that school's taking place. I don't want to take time out of my schedule and put money that I've worked hard for to go see this brand of baseball. And you said, I don't know if it can get worse than this. I think it will get worse than this. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or if it's going to happen next year. But by middle of September, when you've got those final couple of home games, home stands, people are going. Football's going to be on. Fall weather is going to be here. Hockey's going to be back. People aren't going to want to go to the ballpark to watch a team finish out a mediocre schedule. So I think fans have finally gotten to the point, if not they were already there, they've gotten to the point where they say, this is not worth my time. It's not entertainment anymore.
I do find it interesting, though, because, again, this team isn't actually bad.
Yeah.
Like, they're not good. I'm not trying to sell you something that they're not. But they're only 2 games below 500, man.
They're not the Pirates.
No. Like, we watched a game last night with one team that is truly horrific. We saw a team down in Miami. That team's real bad. Yeah. They've had some moments this year, but they're pretty darn bad. Washington right now is 25 games below 500. The Colorado Rockies are nearly 60 games below 500. That's bad baseball. What you have seen this year is mediocre baseball, and it has felt like that for, 5 to 7 years now in St. Louis. So this is not me suggesting that you need to get to the ballpark to support an average product. I'm not saying that, but it is interesting to me that we are hitting what appears to be rock bottom when the team has not. The actual team on the baseball field is far from rock bottom right now. It can absolutely get worse than this. Trust me. I've watched it for a lot of my upbringing.
And I also saw that
much worse than this.
I also saw that Marlins game to where there was zero defensive mindset out there.
Yep.
But I think what you said is true. But for Cardinals fans, longtime Cardinals fans, this is the equivalent of that. Because they haven't seen this bad of baseball, which, again, 2 games below 500 is not bad. But it's not so much what they are this year. It's what they've been for 3 years.
Yeah, but last year they were also 4 games above 500. There have been years in the past where the Cardinals could potentially make the playoffs with the record that they had a year ago.
But it was just getting into the playoffs and see what happened, which is not what Cardinals fans want.
Maybe not, but they did end up winning a World Series with, a similar kind of a record. 83-78 back in 2006 got
Also
them
had
into
Albert
the
Pujols.
playoffs. No, I agree.
And Jim Edmonds and Scott Rowland.
I'm just saying, that got them into the playoffs, and then they won the World Series, and people don't necessarily complain about it there. Again, I'm not telling you that you need to praise this team for how good they are. I just find that to be an interesting disconnect on, this is not actually bad baseball that we've watched over the past 2 years. It's mediocre, it's disappointing, it's frustrating, but it's not truly bad baseball. And that's typically when you hit this kind of a rock bottom, is when you get into not just disappointing baseball, but oh boy, you're losing 95 to 100 games in any given season. That's what happened to the Tigers. I went back earlier today because I was curious. Dude, this kind of a drop-off for the Cardinals, it's rare. You don't see teams go from top 5 to top 10 to bottom 12 in baseball in attendance almost ever. That's incredibly rare. So I tried to find other examples of this. When in recent memory have we seen this? San Francisco had something similar from 2011 to 2017. They were averaging 40,000 fans per night. It dropped to 38,000 and then 33, and then it dropped all the way to 30,000 per game from 2022 to 2024. It's back up this season. It's up to 36,000. I wonder why. It could be due to messaging. Buster Posey takes over as the president of baseball operations. They get Willie Adames in the offseason. They trade this season in season for Rafael Devers, and it feels different around the club. But you look at the actual results, dude, it's what you are. They have been a mirror image of the Cardinals, and yet attendance is up for them in part because the messaging has improved. We saw this with Philadelphia, right? They go through that stretch in the mid-2000s where they're excellent. It's that Ryan Howard era. They're averaging 45,000 fans per night. That drops to 37,000 in 2013, went down to 30, and then 22,000 in 2015. It stays around that range for the next 5 years. They sign Bryce Harper. Boom, attendance spikes once again in 2019 to 33,000. Then we go through COVID, but then it's been up over the last couple of years, 37 and then 40,000 now. Detroit, average 37-ish thousand per fans per game from 2007 to 2014. It drops significantly in 2015. This is once you get into the Miggy years start to go into decline, severe decline. It continues to drop all the way to 18,000 fans per night in 2019. It's back up to 22 last year. It's back up to 29 this year because they're good again. What I'm really curious to see, Alex, is how does that happen here? What has to change? Because if we're talking about this while the team is not actually at rock bottom, they're simply mediocre. Is Chaim Bloom going to be able to fix this? I wouldn't think so. The more I hear about Chaim Bloom, the more I think, man, it sure sounds a lot like Mo in terms of the messaging, how he's going to approach this thing. Boy. That doesn't mean it ends poorly. Mo was good at one point in time, really good at his job. But what does that require then? How do you get back to where you once were, or at least something approaching that?
Well, the foundation of it, he's got a chance, Chaim does, to start it off on the right foot in November, his first time speaking with the media, to give the proper messaging. I mean, you talked about how the Giants were able to accomplish this by the proper messaging. That's at least where you can start, but I'm with you. Everything we've heard about Chaim sounds an awful lot like John Mozeliak, and what worries me is Chaim, just like Mo, has a boss, and there's going to be a guideline, there's going to be a script of what you can say and what you can't say about this team, but Chaim's got a chance to at least point the ship in the right direction with his communication with the fan base at the end of this season. But in terms of, I don't think communication is going to fix this at all for people. They want to see They want to see effective changes, and I don't think that's going to that's not going to take place unless the organization is willing to spend money or be aggressive via trade. And I don't anticipate that anytime soon.
Yeah, I think for Heim, first off, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him to nail the end of season press conference because he's going to have to get the message out of here's what our plan is, right? I mean, that is the one thing that has been the problem with the Mozeliak era here at the end of it. The communication towards the fan base has been poor. The PR has been nothing but a nightmare. I think that will be the first step, but the biggest step is going to be, okay, do you get a superstar and win with that superstar for them to come back? Because I don't think winning is just going to drive people back. I mean, like you said, BK, this is not bad baseball. I mean, it's 500 baseball, and that's not awful when you look across the landscape of the league. And people are coming. What is it going to require? I don't think it's just wins. I think it's going to require winning and having something to come to the ballpark to see. Because, I mean, those teams that you mentioned, what did they end up doing? Detroit, they're the one I can't really explain because I don't know if they've got a superstar. Skubal, but he pitches once every 5 days. But the Giants,
they're the best team in baseball. That's what's changed. If you're
exactly
that good, if you win 100 games, then you can get back to it. But, you know, the odds
are you're not going to do that without a star.
Exactly.
But you look at these other teams, the Giants. They go out and they make aggressive moves. They sign a Matt Chapman, not a superstar, but
that
I would say a star.
That wouldn't do anything for this fan base.
Willie Adames is brought into this organization. You've got their pitching staff.
I don't think that does enough.
I think if you bring in Adames, Chapman, you bring in Robbie Ray, you bring in you've got an ace in Logan Webb. You bring in Willie Devers at the deadline.
You bring in Willie Adames.
The Devers thing is the first name that you've mentioned that I think does anything.
Yeah,
for this
if you bring in Willie Adames, I'm gonna be like, Gru, you brought in another shortstop. You already don't have
not even that. Just the offensive
that.
production, right? Like the offensive production for him, he's had one season above 20% above league average. Like that's what you have. You have Willie Adames already. Like Willie Adames isn't even as good as Wilson Contreras offensively.
Yeah. None of those are superstars. Like you need Devers, Bryce Harper-esque move.
Yeah, that's
what
fair.
you need.
I think the way that the Giants have approached it by saying we're going to be aggressive in making moves has helped with the fan base. Because I mean, they just keep going out there and they're signing, they're spending, they're doing what you would want. I mean, it's what the thing that you hear the Cardinals fan base.
But does that work beyond this year? Like for the Giants, do you think attendance goes up next year? Or do you think it goes back down and has a rubber band effect because they're bad?
I think it will go up because they have Devers. I think they're going to get a bounce because of Devers. Posey will probably do something at the press conference that kind of sells the fan base at the end of the year and says, hey, that didn't work out. We think we've got a plan in place, da-da-da-da-da. Now, I'll be curious to see how long a leeway he gets. But I think they will go up again. Now, I don't think it'll be anything like significant, but I think they will go up in San Fran. And Philly, the other one you mentioned, I mean, they signed Bryce Bleepin Harper. Of course, attendance went up when they make that move. So I think that's what it comes down to. Unless you win at the rate that the Tigers are, where it's like best in baseball, you've got to have stars here if you're going to draw on St.
I don't know
Louis.
how you get that. There's no star available. And when they do become available, they cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. And I used to be able to make the case. Like Bryce Harper, I made the case for the Cardinals to sign him. Manny Machado, I wasn't as in on Machado as I was on Harper. That you could have made the case for the Cardinals to go out there and make that move. Hell, San Diego's not exactly a massive market. They found a way to make that move. You can't make that case anymore. Like Kyle Tucker's going to be available this offseason. He's going to be $400 to $500 million. Kyle Tucker can't hold a candle to those guys that I just mentioned. Offensively, maybe. He is not as good. He is certainly not as much of a draw as Manny Machado or Bryce Harper were when they hit free agency. So you've got to find a way to make that trade. All right, who's the player? Who's the player that's going to be available that you're going to be more aggressive than the Phillies or the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Mets or the Padres to be able to go acquire that guy? It's hard to make the case for how the Cardinals go get that player that we're talking about here, which all gets back to then you have to develop them. And that means going to the Dominican and signing a kid when he's 16 years old, and then 6 years later he gets here. They haven't signed the kid yet. So we're talking about another 5 years beyond right now to be able to get that player. It's dire straits right now for the Cardinals. It feels as though this is rock bottom. I don't know if it actually is in the long haul, though. It's possible this is the beginning of what it's going to be for multiple seasons. So we want to hear from you. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. YouTube.com/101ESPN is where you can go to find the YouTube chat. Also, want to hear from you today. The mic drop feature is on the 101 ESPN app. It's the Scott Lee Heating mic drop feature. When you hear the Cardinals just had their lowest attendance that they've had in a non-makeup game in roughly 30 years, what comes to mind for you as a Cardinals fan? And What can they do to bring you back? Like, truly, what can they do to get you back into the stands? Hear from some of you, get a little bit more on this coming up next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario, who, by the way, welcome back, man.
Thanks,
How you
man.
doing?
I thought you forgot I was back in the opening segment. Like,
No,
I've been
I
here for
figured
6
we'd get
minutes.
right into it. There was a lot going on,
I thought you'd make some type of attendance joke about me not attending the last 6 shows.
That would have been better.
I had it in my mind the whole time, but
It would have been
I
welcome,
appreciate
buddy.
it, man. Thanks for. I'm happy to be back.
It's great to have you. I missed you.
I missed
you look
T-Bone.
refreshed.
Well, I don't
You
know.
spend some time in the sun, you're glowing.
I don't know if I look refreshed. I think there's some bags under my eyes after being with 3 toddlers for 6 days. But you know what? It was good time off. And now I'm here until the end of hockey season.
Yeah, well, I'll be here for about 3 weeks, and then I'll be gone for about 5 days. And I think Tebow's taking some time off right after that. So, we got a couple of weeks with the three of us here in the studio.
Yeah,
so
DJ Patty Cakes
enjoy it.
called me part-time Ferrario and said I was glad to be back. And shove it, DJ Patty Cakes, because I'm going to be here for 6 months straight.
If you missed our open, we talked a lot about the Cardinals' attendance from last night. You may have seen it became a bit of a topic online once again. The Cardinals had 17,675 in paid attendance last night, lowest in the history of Busch 3. First time they've sold fewer than 20,000 tickets at this stadium. First time they have done so since the makeup game, which took place in '97 and this time of the year against Montreal. First time they've done so with fewer than 20,000 in attendance at a non-makeup game since April of 1996. So yeah, it's been a little while, and we wanted to hear from you. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. The mic drop feature is on the 101 ESPN app. That is sponsored by Scott Lee Heating. Want to hear from you guys on what the Cardinals could do to get you back into the stadium, and that's where Nicholas has sent us a mic drop today.
Hey guys, hey, when I see the attendance like that, I mean, I'm a diehard Cardinals fan, but what it looks like to me is the fan base just had enough of this front office. It's not the team, it's not the players. They're just tired of the front office. The messaging ain't right. They said, hey, we're going to go out and spend some money. They're not spending money. They're back payrolling everything. I feel like they're going to be selling the team at one point because that's what it looks like.
I don't think they're selling the team. I really don't. I think they're getting their finances in order. Mm-hmm. I think they are looking at what's taking place right now with the attendance. Again, guys, you don't have to like this. I'm not telling you have to like it. But I think this is my read on the situation. That's all I can give you. They're looking at a drop in TV revenues. They're looking at a drop in attendance revenues. And eventually that's going to be reflected in the payroll on the field.
And they're staring a lockout in the face in about a year.
And when you have all of these different factors, it makes sense, business-wise, purely looking at it from a business sense, to take a step back payroll-wise. Now, there's only so much they can do in that regard because Michael has told them to shove it, and he doesn't want to go anywhere. And Contreras said, I'm not going anywhere. And Sonny said, I'm not going anywhere. And Arenado said, I'm not going anywhere except for there, and they don't want me, so I'm not going anywhere.
Well, wait, they're a playoff team, so now I'll probably go there. And then they said, we don't want you.
So you're stuck with some of this money on your books, and I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. The ownership probably does. But there's only so low that you can go with your payroll before eventually, you've almost got a floor of $100+ million every season right now. And next year, you've got Sonny making 35. You've got 20-ish going to Contreras, another 25 going to Arenado. Yeah, it's going to be tough to get too low. But that's one thing that I am going to be interested in, Alex. When those contracts do fall off of the books, which isn't that far away now, what do they do? Mm-hmm. Are they just going to immediately go turn around and be like, all right, let's go get our next $35 million man.
Let's go spend $20 million.
It's going to be great. It worked out well for us last time. Or are they going to say, hey, that was a disaster. We don't want to build around $30 million players. We like the flexibility of going year to year. Hey, this guy's not good anymore. Cool, get rid of him. Hey, this guy, it's not working out for us. All right, cool. Well, thankfully, it was only a 2-year contract. We're out of it right now. Boom. I don't know what the answer is going to be there, but that flexibility is something that Chaim Bloom enjoyed while he was in Tampa Bay. Mm-hmm. It is something that he started to trend toward in his very brief time in Boston. I'm going to be curious to find out what does this look like under Chaim Bloom's leadership, because he mentioned that he wants them to spend money. That mic drop did from Nicholas. I don't know if that's going to be the answer. I would personally bet on the answer being no. I don't think that's going to be the direction they head in.
Yeah, I mean, the real answer here is we don't know because Chaim Bloom hasn't spoken to anybody. So all you could do is go off of track record. But even the track record you're talking about, Tampa has done that, whether it was Chaim Bloom there or somebody else. That's ownership. Boston did it because, well, they needed to get off of Mookie Betts because they didn't want to pay him, and then they wanted to go younger. But then they had somebody else come in and actually pay the guys that they drafted and looked at as core members of their team. I mean, you have to go off of ownership, but shouldn't you take ownership by their words when they told us at the 17 press conferences at the beginning of the season, and what Mo has told us that the owners believe that at some point, yes, they're resetting the books, and yes, they're figuring out their finances, but at some point, they'll get back to where they're willing to spend money.
They say they're getting back to where they're willing to spend money. They don't necessarily get to the point, though, where they say, we will spend what we were spending.
Yes.
And
that's
maybe they will. Maybe they'll get back to what they were spending in terms of the dollar figure. That doesn't mean they will rank where they ranked when they were spending that dollar figure, because $10 today is not the same as $10 20 years ago, and it will not be the same as $10 20 years from now.
Yep.
With inflation, word that's been out there a lot in the last few years.
Oh, jeez. I've gone for 6 days.
I'm not even paying. I'm cutting mic drops over. What's he doing?
We will see that, like, even if the Cardinals did get back to $170, $180 million 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you think the teams that are spending $170 million right now are still going to be spending that 3, 4, 5 years down the road? Probably not. They're probably going to be closer to 200, 220, 230. Things change over time. So even if they did get back to spending, Alex, that doesn't necessarily mean spending to that same ranking.
Well, and also just look at how the Cardinals operate. We can say spending, but spending in the middle of the market rather than the top end of the market.
That's another thing.
There's no way for me to blueprint what this is going to look like moving forward other than what they've been trying to accomplish and what we see, that it's impossible to just go out there and acquire this superstar. And frankly, where the Cardinals are at right now, I don't know if I want them to get to the point where they're willing to throw money at a 31-year-old superstar or 32-year-old superstar, because the time frame of where their team is going to be at in a rebuild might not match up with signing that player. So this one is going to be a lot longer. I think the whole reason you're seeing the Cardinals trying to get out of these Michaelis contracts and Arenado contracts and Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras is they realize this team's not going anywhere. And they'd rather try and reset the money books. They'd try and get their finances in order for a team that's not going to be good and people that aren't coming to the ballpark, so that when they can figure out their own problems, they're willing to get back to who they used to be.
Can I ask a question?
If it's going to be inflation-esque, then no. Tebow needs to speak.
I'm genuinely curious on this. What if St. Louis is, at this point, in 2025, I'm not saying previously, this is not a statement on anything that has happened prior to today. It is simply a statement on where we are today. What if St. Louis is now going to operate like any other baseball market, where if the team is good, people show up, and if the team is anything less than very good, this is what it looks like? What does that do, Alex? Because I do think it changes the way that the organization operates.
Well, yeah, especially if you take for the DeWitts for their word when they tell you kind of how they operate.
Because it then becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Cardinals have been really, really good for most of the last 30 years. They went from the McGuire years where you've got the home run chase, and that brings people out, straight into the Albert years, which is, I mean, they were for a decade the most successful organization other than the Yankees, the most successful NL organization in Major League Baseball. That continues into the post-Albert years there for 2012 to 2015, where they're still consistently among the best in the National League, even if the Giants maybe surpass them as the team for the early 2010s. And then you get into like 2016 to where we are today, and they haven't quite been that same team, and you're looking at a decade of that. You haven't enjoyed the same postseason success, and so now I think at least the behavior of the fans, this is not to suggest that this is how fans are, but the behavior of the fans is starting to trend more in line with the Brewers, the Phillies, the Tigers, these teams that, as the team ebbs and flows in the standings, you see similar, like the year after the team is good, the attendance spikes because it's a reflection of what the year prior was and the excitement that the fan base had from that. The year after the team is bad, the attendance dips. What if that's just what St. Louis is going to be for the foreseeable future when it comes to the Cardinals? Because that's not what they've been for 30 years, but that doesn't mean they can never go back to being that.
Yeah, I mean, what it means is the Cardinals just are never going to be they're never going to be a team that's spending like people want them to be, which I don't know if is a bad thing if you're going to be up and down in terms of your winning and then the attendance comes in. But again, you go off of what the DeWitts are telling you that if you're not coming to the games, well, then that's going to coincide with how they're willing to spend money. how does that roster look? What it means also is the team has to become great at developing players because that's the only way they'll be successful. If they're not going to spend money because people aren't coming, because it's up and down and you're winning, they're there. When they're not winning, they're not there. Well, then you're going to have to become the Milwaukee Brewers in the sense of you're going to have to draft and develop players, and it's all going to have to be internal.
From the 479, dude, this isn't 1 year. This is the culmination of years of BS. I think that is true. The Cardinals, for a number of years, have had really bad public messaging, I think is what I would be willing to say. This is not years of them being bad, though. It's just not an accurate representation of what they have been. The Cardinals have had one season below 500 since 2008. Again, I'm not telling you that you have to buy into what they're building. But let's be fair on what the Cardinals have been and what the Cardinals are right now. They're average. For one season, they were putrid. That was 2023. They were a horrible baseball team. Everybody agrees they lost more than 90 games that season. But beyond that, last year they won 83 games. The year before, 2023, when they were bad, they went to the playoffs and had a really good team with Albert Pujols. The year before that, they won 90 games. Before that, the non-COVID season in 2019, they won 91. This has not been a decade of abysmal performance the way that it is in some of these areas that I referenced where the attendance significantly declines. Either those teams went into a full-blown tank or they had been bad for 3 to 5 years, truly bad. That's what makes this so unique. This baseball town has supported a team the likes of which very few markets of this size can or have. And then in a 2 to 3 year stretch, completely went off of a cliff. It's something that should be studied, man. It is a true phenomenon, the likes of which we almost never see in professional sports. So I find all of it to be really interesting. We were supposed to talk coming up next about the Blues. Alex is going to get mad at me. We're not going to do that. We're going to continue this conversation here
I'm going
you guys
home.
next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals beat the Pirates on a walk-off home run from Alec Burleson last night, 7-6. Game 2 of their 4-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates is tonight. 6:45 will be first pitch. Mitch Keller will be on the mound for Pittsburgh. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Good to have Alex Ferrario back in as we talk about the Cardinals exclusively for the first
over
hour.
The Blues. What are you talking about, man? We're like 3 weeks away.
All right, we want to hear from you guys.
Oh, God, 3 weeks away.
Scott Lee heating mic drop features on the 101 ESPN app. What could the Cardinals do to get you back into the stadium as they had their lowest attendance in about 30 years last night? Let's hear from Nick.
Honestly, seeing Busch Stadium at a record low attendance makes me ecstatic. DeWitt is laughing in the fans' faces whenever we're not showing up because he's got a trash product, and he's made it abundantly clear that his bottom line is much more important than having a winning team. And honestly, the Blues right down the street have put on a masterclass of messaging and saying, hey, we don't care what the RSNs are going to be. Just because the RSNs are a question mark doesn't mean that we're going to tank this team, which is exactly what DeWitt did. And he has way more money than the Blues ownership does, and he also makes way more money than the Blues ownership does. So it makes me super happy. The way that I would come back is that this team actually shows that it's a perennial actual World Series contender again.
I don't know if that's coming. Can I just be honest?
Yeah, that's not coming. Not anytime soon.
I don't know that you can operate that way in St. Louis anymore. The way that the sport is currently structured and the way that revenue
That's what I was going to say.
Structured.
The only sliver of hope for that to happen sooner rather than later is a salary cap. Because it puts everyone on the same playing field. Absolutely. And it gives you a shot. Because I understand what he's saying with the Blues, and he's right. Like, Stillman has just shown the support, spent the money. Doug Armstrong's operated. Great messaging. They also have a salary cap to where everyone's on the same playing field.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I think the comparison between the Cardinals and the Blues is apt in messaging. And that's where the comparison, I think, should and needs to stop. Because the Blues do not operate the same way that the Cardinals do. The entire structure of the sports are different. Comparing baseball's finances to the NHL's finances, well, one of them, they share the finances among the entire league. And I'm not talking about revenue sharing. I'm talking about literally like all of the TV rights deals, all of this, they're split evenly. That's how the cap exists. It's because you have all of these revenues, they go into this big pot together, and then you streamline them to get to all of the different teams. That's what makes the cap. For Major League Baseball, each team individually imposes what is effectively their quote-unquote cap based upon their own revenue streams. Now, some teams operate in the red. It's rare, but some teams do. The Padres have shown this, for example, in recent seasons. That's incredibly rare. Most businesses do not operate that way, whether it's sports or otherwise. So, Nick, you have every right to be upset about the way that the Cardinals have been operating in recent seasons. That is your prerogative, and you get to choose how you feel as a fan. However, I think holding them to the standard that you hold the Blues to with the way that they operate, I think that's a bit unfair.
Hold the standard for the Cardinals the same as the Blues in terms of the messaging.
Absolutely.
Because the Cardinals, if there's one thing that they should learn from what's happened over these last few seasons, it's your messaging is dog poo. And Doug Armstrong, Tom Stillman, they have stuck to the same message, relayed it, been honest with the fans, and they've been outspoken and always available for the fans. That's where the Cardinals need to take their next step.
All right, let's hear from Ryan.
Hello, BK and Ferrario.
Hello.
Tanner, what's going on?
Hey.
I think the whole thing with the fans and attendance is a really, really bad look for St. Louis. I don't think there's enough justification for the fans to be doing what they're doing. I really don't. I actually think it's hilarious that some fans are blaming ownership in the front office. We can't spend like the New York and LA teams, so I don't know what these fans expect. There's just not going to be enough revenue there. And I just think it's a never-ending thing for some of these fans until we win a World Series again, which is really sad because when you look at the last 3 years, we've only finished under 500 one of the years.
Ryan, first of all,
Ryan's having a
shoot
good
us
Tuesday.
a text. Let's meet up somewhere. Would love to hang out.
You and BK, Ryan, seem like you guys would be really good friends.
I think we could have a good time.
I thought it was just BD3 making his voice deeper.
Like really good friends.
I do think what he said about the World Series might be true.
Oh, yeah.
It really might take the Cardinals getting to a World Series for Cardinals fans to buy back in. And I also think that's an underrated portion of the Blues thing, by the way. Within the last 6 years, they've won a cup. I think that has a trickle-down effect of you earn the benefit of the doubt based upon that recent success. And as that success feels further and further and further away, you lose a lot of that benefit of the doubt. So the fact that the Cardinals have not won a World Series since 2011, and it's almost 15 years removed now from that success, that's part of it. And now you can't even look into the dugout and see somebody that was a part of that 2011 team, right? Unless you go to that weekend where the Cardinals were playing, I think it was the Padres, Yadier Molina's in the dugout. Then you could see it again. Like you could feel that success exuberating from the dugout. But it's been so long that there's not a single player on the roster now that was a part of the team that won the World Series. At least with the Blues, I can be reminded of their past success because Robert Thomas is out there. Colton Parayko is out there. I can see glimpses of that past success, and it's right there for me as a reminder we could get back to that soon. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's just a standard in St. Louis because you've seen a team that's won multiple World Series recently. Well, it's almost recently. Now you're like 20 years removed. But also just teams that have been competitive in the playoffs and have gotten deeper into the playoffs. And that's where the standard has been set, and it's just the Cardinals' history. It does also feel like if that's what you're sitting there hoping for, that I'm willing to buy back into the Cardinals until they become World Series contenders every year, well, then I just don't think you're going to be buying back into the Cardinals. But I also think part of the reason people just continue to believe in the Blues is the way that they operate in terms of you have an aggressive general manager who's always making moves and always staying aggressive to find ways to make the team better, whereas the Cardinals, although they have been aggressive with the Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, when they've had a good team, they haven't been more aggressive. They've stuck with what they've had, and they said this will be good enough.
From the 314, guys, you're wrong. Playoff berth would bring back fans. World Series would be great, but that's not expected. Making the playoffs is realistic, though, and should be achievable. I don't know that that's accurate. Based upon what we have seen from our text line, I've now been here in St. Louis for most of the past decade doing a show on a day-to-day basis. People didn't care about them getting to the playoffs in 2022. They felt as though that was a failure because they didn't win a game in the playoffs. The 2021 postseason, so one-game sample size, boom, you're gone. I think it does require them to at least get deeper into the postseason. Hell, even going back to that 2018 team that went to the NLCS, people didn't buy into it. They didn't even sell out Busch Stadium for that series against the Nationals. So, yeah, I'm not sure that I agree with that either. Let's hear from Lisa.
In all fairness, though, real quick, they did get, no hit by Anibal Sanchez?
That wasn't great.
It's hard to buy into that team.
That's true. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, guys. So the Cardinals are the definition of arrogance. They stopped talking to their fans like their fans had a brain in their head. We don't have to spend our money. 2016 through 18, they didn't make the playoffs, and they drew $3 million. 19, they got in. They've won 5 playoff games in a decade. They had lost 91 games in 2023, don't have an end-of-the-year press conference. They made the storied St. Louis Cardinals a training ground for managers. This isn't about Marmol. This should be his second stop or third stop. And go win somewhere and then show. This is the Cardinals. This isn't one of the other kind of teams that doesn't have the storied background. Start talking to your fans like we have a brain. Notice what Doug Armstrong does. And they haven't been perfect, but at least they try. And so it's going to take a while. I mean, fans like me, I'm just crabby, but I still at least care. But anyway, thanks for asking, guys.
Yeah, treat me like a person, not an object, Cardinals. I'm not an object.
I can respect that. All right, let's hear one more. Missouri Steven.
How do you get Cardinal fans back into the stadium?
That's right.
Well, for me personally, it's going to take somebody who's hitting 40 bombs a year.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see some bombs. If we're not winning, I want to see some bombs when I'm at the field.
Yeah.
1 or 2 guys. I don't want to have to rely on luck when I go to the ballpark to see a home run. It's exciting. I love home runs. Most fans would agree.
T-Bone
Remember
Lefty
back
did
in the
this.
day when you'd go to the ball game, you would only go to the games where Adam Wainwright and Chris Carpenter were pitching. Why did you want to go to those games? Because you were probably most likely going to win. I want to go to the game who's pitching, who's probably going to win us the game. I want that. I remember doing that. And oh, by the way, Albert Pujols and Jim Edmonds were hitting bombs. I mean, that was great baseball. That's what it's going to take to get me back.
Okay, so wins and home runs are the most important stat to Missouri Steven.
I agree. For what it's worth.
T-Bone recorded this. He left the room and he went back and he came in. He's Missouri Steven.
Can I read you the list of players that are on pace to hit at least 40 home runs this season?
Well, you don't need to. The Cardinals have one that can do it. It's Nolan Gorman. I've been told that for the last 4 years by this team.
Cal Raleigh. He's probably going to win the MVP. Kyle Schwarber, he's probably going to finish top 3. Shohei Ohtani, he's probably going to win the MVP. Hey, Eugenio Suarez, do you think he would bring people back?
Nah.
He hits bombs. Missouri Steven
He's
will
like
be
what
front
I would
row.
picture Gorman doing 40 home runs. So no.
Aaron Judge, he'll finish top 2 for MVP. Junior Caminero, he would get people back into the stands. That would be a young star player. And by the way, if you want excitement, hope, belief, Hein Bloom. Look, the Rays.
He didn't draft him.
But he's associated with the Rays.
Hein was there like 20 years ago,
doesn't
man.
get credit for every Ray.
He does in my book. We're going to have to agree to disagree on that.
Wait a minute. This is not right.
And then Juan Soto and Riley Green, it seems unlikely that either get there, but they potentially could. End of list.
Could have traded for one of
in
those.
all of Major League Baseball.
You could have traded.
I don't know that the Cardinals are going to have a 40 home run hitter anytime in the near future, boys.
They could sign Kyle Schwarber this offseason.
Would you do it?
No.
Hell yeah.
What is the point? Well,
I
you're
wanna
going to
get
get Missouri
Steven
Steven back. Again, this is not Missouri Steven. This is T-Bone.
Alex, I think I would do it.
No.
They won't,
that's
and they probably
absurd.
shouldn't, but I think I would sign
Why?
Kyle
For
Schwarber.
a one-season spike in attendance of, we've got Kyle Schwarber, and then the team is 500?
I think his game is going to translate pretty well into his mid to late 30s because he just hits bombs.
That's great. Hit bombs for a team that's 500 and misses the playoffs.
But if you've got him and you've got J.J. Weatherholt added to this current mix and you're trading out some of the current pieces.
Stop getting off the path. Stay on the path.
I think signing Schwarber would actually help attendance next year, and I'm not kidding.
You know in those horror films when
they won't do it.
You know in the horror films when the one chick's like, "Hey, I'm going to go down this gravel road. This is how I escape the serial killer," and then she doesn't escape the serial killer.
It always works until it
You're
doesn't.
going down the gravel road trying to escape Jason Voorhees. He's in front of you, man. Don't do it.
But
stick to the path. Rebuild. 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 Rebuild.
He hits 40 bombs though.
Yeah.
And as we heard from Missouri Steven,
yeah,
I
Tanner,
just want to see somebody hit bombs.
Yeah, Clark Kent, meaning Tanner, wants more bombs.
Have you seen a picture of J.J. Weatherholt with his glasses, by the way? Clark Kent. So
What? Really?
Does he wear glasses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does he wear them on the field?
I don't think so. No.
He needs to get goggles so I can call him goggles.
That would be great.
I need a goggles
next
on this
questions
team.
and answers here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to tell you about my friends out at Classic Air Care, who is here to help you with your HVAC system. Whether you got a really old one or you got a brand new one, but you want to make sure that it lasts the amount of time you're going to be living in that home. And that's where this maintenance agreement comes into play. This time of the year, that HVAC system's not a concern of yours. You've got the windows and doors open. It's nice outside, but you know that heat's going to come back at any point. And so it's not getting the right work now. It's going to sooner rather than later. And you want to make sure that it's ready to go. So this is the time of the year where I have my maintenance agreement scheduled. Twice a year, Classic Air Care comes out. They clean the unit. They fine-tune the unit. They make sure there's nothing that needs to be fixed so that when it's going to be in that heavy use once again, it's good to go. The perks of this, though, in my opinion, and I've been using this since 2016, is when some type of issue pops up, you get priority scheduling with Classic Air Care because you're a member of that maintenance agreement. They've got 100 vans out on the road, which means they can get to you within 24 hours, and they run 7 days a week and have after-hour techs on call. Schedule online or call them today. Just do me a favor and tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. It's Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers from the 913. Guys, I'm sure you'll get other texts about this, but screw it. Do you think that Contreras went too far last night? I love the guy, but I can't defend some of those actions. Yeah, you can't throw your bat. That's where you went a bridge too far for me. Everything else, whatever. Once you throw your bat, can't do it.
I agree with you. I think that's an immature look to throw your bat. But my only, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, would be what's the difference of that than him going into the dugout, picking up the jar of bubble gum or picking up something else and throwing it onto the field?
Danger. There's more danger to throwing your bat.
And the bat was towards an umpire.
Well, maybe he didn't realize the
Even
umpire
if it
was
wasn't
that close.
toward the umpire, if it was just throwing it in the direction of people. You can actually like legitimately hurt somebody with that.
Isn't a jar of bubble gum being thrown onto the field? Could that potentially hurt someone?
Not to the same degree.
What if the bubble gum went like ricocheted off of somebody's foot and went into an eye and poked an eye out?
I do think it's a bad look because
anytime you throw anything, it's not a good look.
Yeah, that's a bad look. This endangered human beings, which is worse than just a bad look in my opinion. My issue with throwing the double bubble, or I think last night it was like some kind of a
high chew or something.
Yeah, and I've honestly, have you guys heard of that before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was like a caramel candy.
I actually haven't even seen. Does double bubble a thing still?
I think so.
I was gonna say I haven't seen that a whole lot lately, but I don't know.
I'm not familiar with these. I've truly never seen these.
I'm not a bubble gum guy anyway, though. So
I like mint gum, not bubble gum.
I haven't done gum in God knows how long. I do those Listerine patches where you just put it on your tongue and they dissolve. Oh yeah, I love those.
Interesting.
Yeah, works too.
God bless you. Anyway,
so
yeah,
does that mean?
Just not for me, but
mint gum's not for me.
I respect that. So
I feel like there's an argument here.
When you throw the double bubble or the high chew, whatever it may be, the guy that has to pick that up is typically like the bat boy. I just feel bad for him as they're standing there. Everybody's waiting on them to pick up all of the bubble gum on the ground. That sucks. But the other stuff, putting somebody into danger is really my problem.
Yeah,
it's just not a good look, especially when you're a professional athlete who's been in the game for as long as he has.
And when you look back on the umpire had the right call. Like that also adds into the. I didn't think the umpire had that bad a game, and yet the Cardinals freaked out about it. So yeah, I agree. He crossed the line.
I always wonder though, and I know Wilson has his side of the story. I'm sure the umpire has his side of the story, and all we can do is read lips. I always wonder what one guy has to say to make another one charge him like that. Even if you're a hothead, there's a buzzword that you said. And Wilson Contreras has been in plenty of these types of moments. I've never seen him charge an umpire like that. So you got to wonder what was said to him on the other side.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. Get to a couple more of these from the 314. Guys, do you think that making it back to the playoffs and a first-round exit for the Blues would be a failure for them this season? No, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah. I think if you make the playoffs without having to go on a 17-game or whatever they did, 12-game win streak at the end of the season. If you make the playoffs because you're competitive from start to finish and you lose in the first round, that's not a failure. If you're bad and then have to go on a run at the end of the season to get in and then lose in the first round, I don't know if it's a failure, but you're kind of stale once again because you're doing the same thing that you did last year. There's got to be improvement.
Yeah, I wouldn't call getting to the playoffs first-round exit a failure because you're not at a into the next phase of this window, right? You're not into the winning window. They still are saying, hey, we're kind of at the back end of the retool. We want to get past the first round, but like they're trying to tamper down expectations. I don't think a first-round exit would be a failure.
Now, if you get swept in the first round, I don't know if I would go as harsh of a failure, but that's not a good look. You got to be competitive.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. I did put this out on Twitter because I'm genuinely curious.
Oh, it's a poll.
Would the Cardinals signing Kyle Schwarber this offseason incentivize you to go back to the ballpark next year?
Let me guess. 97% said no.
It's literally 50-50 thus far.
Yes.
No,
you can
it's
find this on Twitter
53-47. I just
BK
voted.
Sports Doc. Would that incentivize you to go back to the ballpark next year if the Cardinals signed Kyle Schwarber? I don't know what the answer would be to that. For me, I think yes. I would be excited to see 40 bombs. I agree with Missouri Steven, man.
No, you
They haven't had
Tanner.
a player like that in a really long time.
To me, I'm confused as to what your direction is. Like, you're a bad team.
Get better players. That's the direction. Get better players.
That's where you're going to take the leap, though, of faith, and you're going to go throw a lot of money at one player?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
The DH that you, want the DH for flexibility.
100%.
I'll say
yes.
Another left-handed hitter.
Yeah, get rid of some of the ones you have internally and get pitchers. Get pitchers.
I would say to retool. Yeah, I would say instead of a rebuild, it's a retool.
No.
I didn't think Fowler made sense for the Blues when they were, sucking it up in the first half.
Somebody said get Kyle Tucker. Nah, man, I would rather have Schwarber, and I'm not kidding. I am 100. Given what the length of the contract will be and the value of the contract would be, I would rather sign Kyle Schwarber this offseason than Kyle Tucker.
And Kyle Schwarber, the age hits him in a couple of years, and you're looking at this like, wait,
I think you're only talking about a 4-year deal for Tucker, though. Like 4 and
Schwarber.
150. Yeah. Kyle Schwarber.
If Tucker get a 4-year
I'll say
deal,
4
I'm
by
doing
150. I'm signing Tucker.
If I could get a 4-year, $150 million deal for Schwarber, or a 9-year, $450 million deal for Tucker, I'd have Schwarber all day long.
I wouldn't do either of them.
He's Alex and
I think the
T-Bone
team's
on
in a
BK.
rebuild.
Coming up next, Alex and T-Bone are on the same side with one Cardinals controversy right now. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK for my friends at Victory Men's Health. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion, and the place to do so is with Victory Men's Health. That means different things for different people. For me, going in there, finding out where my levels were at. Yes, that means testosterone, finding out where we're at there. But it's also, I did a micronutrient lab, found out where all of my vitamin deficiencies were potentially, and they've helped me unlock my inner champion. They could do the same thing for you. Weight loss goals, low testosterone, erectile dysfunction. Maybe you want to learn more about their vitamin infusions, their supplement shop, their red light therapy programs, or their cardiovascular testing. It's all available for you today at victorymenshealth.com. You can read about this over at victorymenshealth.com. That is also where you go to book that first appointment online. It is an incredibly easy process. All you do, put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion today. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area, and you can book that first appointment online at victorymenshealth.com. That's victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, we got this text, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 314. Guys will pay you $5 not to mention the Kelce and Swift engagement.
Deal.
Nope, not happening.
Make it 20 and we're in.
If everybody could have seen during this commercial break how excited he was. This was the equivalent of BK finding out when he was 15 years old that the girl he liked just changed her relationship status from in a relationship to it's complicated.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift on their joint Instagram account, which, yes, they have, apparently similar to the way that, like, you know, many of us would have a joint bank account. They do that, but for Instagram. They are engaged. They have announced that they are officially engaged. Quote, your English teacher and your gym teacher are officially getting married.
Now, this is the kind of stuff I'm here for, though. Taylor Swift officially now has more rings than Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson combined. That's the kind of stuff that I'm here for, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
This is the biggest pop culture wedding in America since blank. I'm 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Our executive producer, Mike Ryder, said Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt. I think that's the answer, and I think this is bigger than that was, but I can't.
I think it's the Meghan Markle one.
I agree with you. That is like the
closest. It's not an American wedding.
I do think it is worth noting. It was relevant because that's part of, you know, the whole royalty thing. And
well, I'd argue this is royalty.
Basically,
for
right?
a lot of people right now. I could care less.
Do you care, T-Bone?
No. God.
Okay.
Just
do
like,
you think Jason's a little upset? Like, really, we just had you on the pod.
did a damn podcast. We broke
like
the internet. You couldn't announce it.
Seriously, like, we broke the internet with the album. Like, the thing that would have been the cherry on top was the engagement at the end of it. Unbelievable.
I think she did it. I think they did it wrong. I think her last song on her new album should have been releasing the information that they were engaged.
They have done a pretty darn good job of, like, putting this all out. So they had his podcast with her. Then he does the GQ magazine thing where he gets on the cover of GQ. And now then she's announced in that stretch her new album, which is going to be coming out. My guess is she's going to be doing the halftime show either at this year or next year's Super Bowl. That's pure speculation, but I have to imagine she's going to do the Super Bowl at some point. I feel like this year would be the one that you do it for.
Well, yeah, because her future husband or fiance is going to be out of the NFL pretty soon.
Exactly. I can't decide if that makes her more or less likely to do it, Alex.
I would say it's probably can you pick the Super Bowl until you know if your team's in it?
See, I'd say less likely.
Like Taylor Swift would be like, look, I'll do the Super Bowl, but as long as the Chiefs are in it. And then the NFL will rig it to where the Chiefs are in it again.
I was wondering if she
That's why
would
they did it
want
the
to
last couple
do
of
it
years.
while he's in it. Because then, if
she
he's
wanted to do a
playing in it,
duet
you're
with him,
upstaging him potentially. Because Taylor Swift being the Super Bowl halftime show would be a bigger story than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen no matter what, though.
Right, but what I'm like, if he's playing in it, I don't think she would want to upstage him. But if he's not playing in it,
I can't believe we're having this conversation.
I think he's going to come out as the guest performer with her, and they'll do a wet together.
Somebody mentioned biggest since Kanye West and Kim Kardashian.
Whoa, hey, let's not go down that path. Did they even have a wedding?
I think so.
I don't remember it being a big deal.
This is going to be a big deal.
No,
do you think
I
you'll
don't
get an
think so.
invite?
No. Maybe.
Think we make the cut?
We should.
Well, for how excited you were, I just kind of assumed you already had an invitation.
Yeah, can't you just picture like BK while they're at the reception and BK's like, this is my song!
I know,
and he's like jumping around, going onto the dance floor, waving his arms.
I saw him do it at his wedding, so God only knows he'd be even more ecstatic at someone else's.
What do you think, like a Taylor Swift fan, what do you think they would pay?
All right, coming up next, let's get into Bliss.
I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah. There'd be some
they would
that would pay
mortgage
millions.
their house, take out a second mortgage to go to this wedding.
For Taylor Swift fans, I think they've already spent millions of dollars on her over the last 10 plus years. I don't know how they
go to their wedding.
I don't know if they have any more money.
Somebody said the NFL already has a script for the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Hell
it's
yeah,
gonna be
they
great.
do.
I'm so glad my team gets to benefit from it.
This
it's
ridiculous.
really great.
Now let's go down the path of who will Travis Kelce's best man and his groomsman be?
Well,
I mean,
Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
I don't know who else would be there.
I think Mahomes will be a part of it.
Andy Reid.
That would be awesome.
They talked about that. Never gonna be surprised by this. I did listen to the podcast, and they did discuss like Andy having a part and them getting together.
Okay, can we move on now, please?
This is our thumbnail today for our YouTube.
The only thing I care about with this engagement is, does it make Travis Kelce a better football player this year? Because I need to know fantasy football-wise if he's a sneaky pick.
I think he looks really good.
Yeah, okay, I've heard that.
I don't think he looks like prime Kelce, but I think he looks much better than he did a year ago.
Now he's
when it
prime
looked as though he was
Kelce.
carrying a piano on his back across the field.
I think it's still going to look like that.
Okay. Well. This is the closest thing that America has to a royal wedding, and we get it, and it's involving one of the guys that I have watched grow up since he was like talking about how the referee
You feel like his
needs to
daddy?
be a part of the Foot Locker.
Oh, that one was good. I remember that. That one was good. That was a good diss.
I mean, some of the Kelce moments from early in his career, if you would have told me that guy is going to marry Taylor Swift, I would have had a lot of follow-up questions. I mean, yeah.
Can we move
Kelce's
on?
no,
Because he's
history.
getting more excited as this is happening.
Should I
So
just
that
turn
was
this
our
mic
NFL
off
quick
and you-
hitters. Coming up next, Alex and T-Bone are on the same page with one of the
we're
current
supposed to
Cardinals
do that here.
controversies. Talk about it here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Praise coming in from all directions.
That text line wants you fired for that segment.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like I've had worse, but it's fair.
Man, I just didn't expect to be talking about that when I came back after a week off.
I didn't either. I didn't expect them to get engaged this time of the year. But
I can't wait to talk about the invitation that you get for their wedding.
Here's the real question. Ollie Marmol's on the Gas House game. You think they asked him?
They had to, right?
I mean, I think I would.
Yeah, it's bad radio if you don't ask them about it.
And I think Ollie would give an excellent answer.
We don't have CNN on in here or Fox News or whatever it is that you watch.
Why do we? Well, you always got to go political, man.
No. My guess is they broke in to announce that. It's that big of news, man. It's a really big deal. Anyways, so Alex and T-Bone are on the same page with one of the biggest controversies currently surrounding the St. Louis Cardinals. Alex, you came in today, and I said, hey, one of my biggest takeaways from last night's game was, wow, Wilson Contreras still has that kind of fire, even if it's put in the wrong direction. But he has that kind of fire in a late August game that really doesn't mean much of anything between the Cardinals and the Pirates. That matters to me. I like having a guy like that cares at this point in the year like that. Masyn Winn is playing through what appears to be a relatively serious knee injury right now. Brendan Donovan had to basically be carted off the field before he was willing to accept the fact that he needed to be placed on the injured list. The same thing can be true for, I think, the guy that hit the walk-off last night is playing through some stuff right now, and Alec Burleson, he's been dealing with some things. I like that. Not that I like the guys that are putting their health on the line, but it matters to me that guys still care, and that guys are willing to put it all on the line for their team and, frankly, for their manager. Because sometimes around this point of the year when the team's not playing all that well, guys check out. Cardinals haven't had that. I do think that reflects positively upon Ollie Marmol. And then Alex came in and said, yeah, I think the Cardinals need to do something about this Masyn Winn situation. What's going on here? What is your opinion on the Masyn Winn situation, Alex?
I actually agree with you, which doesn't happen very often. I think it's great. But let me ask you this question. Prior to us knowing about this injury that seems pretty serious for Masyn Winn, did any of us have questions on it if Masyn Winn was willing to give it his all and sacrifice everything to be for his team to help win?
No.
Did you have any questions about that personality?
No.
So then why do I care about that? Your team is bad right now. What I don't want you to do is have a player who says, no, I'm going to be out there on the field regardless of this injury because I want to be out there for my teammates. Dude, great. We know you're a gamer. We know that the Cardinal red bleeds in you. But chill, because I don't need this serious injury to become a problem 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. You're a core member of our team. For now, I don't know what the offseason's going to hold, but for right now, we believe you're a core piece of this team. Stop it. You're great. You know what he's hitting in the month of August? He's hitting 200. Not like he's breaking walls down right now of how great he's playing. He's coming up with big plays still. He's still an effective player.
Last night
awesome.
Was ridiculous.
But you know what would have been also awful with that? Is if he made that play and blew something out with his knee.
No doubt.
So the Cardinals need to look at this and say, Masyn, we appreciate what you're doing. You are a gamer. You are a part of this team. But stop it. We're putting you on the IL. You're resting yourself so that this injury goes away by next year. Oh, and guess what? We got a guy who's potentially a superstar who's ready to get a shot up at the major league level. I know they're not, but it's stupid that they're not.
Or are you talking about Cesar Prieto?
Yeah, that's who I was talking about.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
No, you don't need to risk further injury or something that could complicate his career by grinding through the last month of the season. Let him rest. Play the other guys. Make sure this is not a lingering problem moving forward. That's my problem with this. The Cardinals need to look at him and say, hey, man, we appreciate the fire, but pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that with the Winn situation. You know, if it's something that is small and that's nagging that maybe you need just a day off for, like I get how you get to a spot where you say, hey, yeah, just give him the day. Like Burleson, for example, got scratched over the weekend with some kind of wrist issue, and he's back in the lineup on Sunday. That sounds, based on the way that they're talking, that, hey, this is just kind of one thing that popped up, and maybe it's something that's bothering him, but it's nothing that's too significant. When I hear that Masyn Winn's had 2 MRIs and is getting inflammatory injections into his knee, that's when I start to get worried. And we talked a little bit about this yesterday, BK. It's not just the knee as well. It's the overcompensation potentially on whatever else he may be dealing with, to where, you know, the body's the connective chain. So maybe it's not the knee that ends up becoming the problem, but something else ends up getting hurt. these 30 games that you got left just don't matter. And it's at the point where if you're the Cardinals, you have to protect the player from himself, because if you left everything up to what the player says, and look, Ollie's got great trust in the players trust Ollie. There's great communication that's there in that locker room. But at some point, the player still needs to be sat down and say, hey, man, this is not what's best for us, best for you in the long term, because I do worry about his knee, even though they seem to think that they've got this thing under control.
They did do this, by the way, with Nolan Arenado. They left it up to the player, and look at the lingering back problems that he's had.
And Donovan.
You mean Gorman then?
No, I mean Arenado.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically said if Arenado tells us he wants to play, he's going to play. Dude has had issues for the last 2 years.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with this one, man. It's a bad answer for radio, but it's my honest opinion on it. He is such a good player, and I don't want this to potentially cause any issues long term. And I do think that there's something to be said for what happened with Donnie, where his injury became something different. He had turf toe, which then worked its way up his leg and eventually became a groin injury. So the turf toe, maybe it wasn't going to get any worse. Maybe they said, hey, you can play through this. It's just a pain tolerance thing. It's going to suck, but you can play through it. And he played through it, and then he hurt himself elsewhere. That's my fear with Masyn Winn. Maybe they're saying, hey, you can't really do anything more to your knee. You're going to have to get some kind of a minor procedure no matter what in the offseason, but it's unlikely to get worse this year by playing on it. Could it get worse with something else? Is there a scenario where the knee issue causes him to plant differently, which actually could hurt his arm? Like, that kind of stuff is what concerns me here. I wonder what his incentive is. Like, why is he still playing?
Gold glove.
Is it that?
I mean, that's going to ramp up the arbitration whenever he gets there, right? You got a gold glove in your belt.
It helps.
When you get to the contract negotiations, you get a gold glove. You get
It also might just be something that his entire life he's wanted to win a gold glove, and he sees it. Like, there's no guarantee he wins another.
You don't think he's going to win more? If I'm the Cardinals, I'm like, dude, you're elite defensively.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing for me. I think he's going to win it this year, even if he sat out the final month. He's like the best defensive player in baseball right now by outs above average.
I think so.
Yeah, but
I don't know that it's a guarantee. Like Nick Allen, shortstop with the Atlanta Braves, he's putting some really good numbers together this season. He's actually better in some of the advanced statistics, like defensive runs saved. He rates a little better than Masyn Winn does. I think Masyn Winn's going to win the Gold Glove this year, though. But I don't know. Maybe he just wants to make sure that it's a no contest.
And let me be like, I'm not bashing Masyn Winn for this one. I understand, and props to him if he's dealing with an injury that he's grinding through because he wants to finish the season. He wants the Gold Glove that's in front of him. I don't think that's bad on his part. I just think if you're the Cardinals, he's a piece of your future that if you jeopardize that piece of the future by having this be a linger problem and it carries over into next season, that doesn't look good on you because you didn't step in and say, hey, we need you to take a step back. And you know what? If it heals up over the next 3 weeks and you want to play the final week of the season, great. But right now, we don't need you doing this every single... I mean, he missed, 2 games and then was back in the lineup? For a knee problem, that is pretty severe.
Yeah, it sounds like this is something that will not get better until he gets into the offseason.
Yeah. And if I'm the Cardinals, man, I'm going to expedite this offseason for you because it's a lost season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I know it's not lost on him because that Gold Glove, and that's where I can understand the sticky part of this conversation. But, man, I think the future is the most important thing if you're Winn and the Cardinals, and I don't want to jeopardize my future if I'm a player for one Gold Glove now.
Yeah, I think – I don't remember which one of you asked, isn't he going to win more Gold Gloves? I don't think you ever want to take that for granted as a player. Because I think he will. I would agree with that. I think he's in line to be a consistent Gold Glove winner for years to come. I think that's in his future. There's no guarantee of that, though. We don't know how he's going to respond to this knee issue. Like, if he gets a procedure this offseason and he might come back and he's not quite the same player next year, it's possible. I wouldn't anticipate that, but you just never know. Like Jacob Mizorowski. Have you seen what his ERA is now, Alex?
Yeah, I think I saw somebody post his numbers compared to Michael McGreevy, and McGreevy's been better in like 8 of the categories.
Yeah, McGreevy has a better ERA right now than Jacob Mizorowski does. That's why I said at the time I liked the fact that Jacob Mizorowski was in the All-Star game because there was no guarantee that he was ever going to be as good as he was right then and there. He was one of the biggest storylines in Major League Baseball at that point in time. Now, pitchers fluctuate much more, certainly, than a Gold Glove defender does at shortstop, but this is why... If I'm in Masyn Winn's shoes, I probably am also pushing to play the rest of the way. Hey, let me secure this. This is something that I've been fighting my entire life to get to this level and to win this specific award. My entire life I've been trying to do this. Don't take that away from me. Don't leave this up to chance. Don't allow somebody else over the next 6 weeks to change the conversation to where they end up pulling that away from me when I've earned that. So if that's the reason that he's doing this and they truly believe he's not putting himself into harm's way, I think that's the case for it. I think that's it. His offense is not helping him right now. That's for sure. Because he's getting worse and worse by the day in terms of his offensive numbers.
The concerning part, like he's not, his play isn't improving, although defense is still elite, is not improving. It makes me concerned that he's pushing through an injury that is severe, that it's like, man, there's just no benefit to this other than you going for the gold glove, which again, huge benefit if you're the player, but one gold glove to where you potentially ruin the next couple of seasons for you, that would be the concern if I'm the Cardinals.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone on BK. Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to dive into the Juncture, where at 1 o'clock we'll be joined by Jeremy Rutherford, Blues insider for The Athletic. But coming up next, where would Eli Drinkwitz rank among the best coaches in college football right now if he's able to pull off another 10-win season this year? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
T-Bone here to tell you about my friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, and it is coming soon here to the Show Me State. Later this football season, you'll be able to bet same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more right here in Missouri. Whether you're backing Kansas City to dominate on Sundays or sweating your basketball picks, DraftKings Sportsbook brings you everything you want to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting from home with the top-rated sportsbook trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and ready to deliver the action like never before. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my code 101WXOS now to gear up for launch in Missouri and be first in line for exclusive promos and can't-miss offers. That's code 101WXOS in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. Subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals took down the Pirates last night 7-6 on a walk-off solo home run by Alec Burleson. Game 2 of the 4-game set against the Pirates is tonight. 6:45 will be first pitch. Mitch Keller will be on the mound for Pittsburgh. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. This Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at Londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
From MD 2020 over the YouTube chat, I just asked my wife if she was excited about the Travis and Taylor news. She hadn't even heard about it yet. I'm filling her and I'm filing for divorce. So you tuned in to 101 ESPN. No, I'm filing for divorce.
Oh, I thought you said I'm filling her and filing for divorce. I'm like, okay. I've already seen like 6 different things on Instagram that says love is real or something like that. Like, this is where we're at now.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce is the reason people believe love is real.
I think it'd be really cool if they get married in St. Louis, personally. I think it would be great for our economy.
Don't lie. You told us in the commercial break you wanted it in Kansas City.
I do also want that. It'd be great for the state of Missouri. All right, Alex.
It's like, I got the in. Cool, man.
No.
I'll be watching it in a television in Kansas City somewhere.
Yeah, we have to watch party.
BK tells us he's got an in, and we're at a barbecue shack watching it on television. This was your in?
We should rent out, like, I don't know, Urban Chestnut or something. Heavy Riff, one of the breweries in town.
Tell you what, man, I'll stay home.
Great Heart right down the street. We could rent it out, get a big projection screen outside.
I'm glad it's trending on Twitter. # love story.
It would be great. All right, so Eli Drinkwitz has a chance this year, Alex. My column today, I wrote about it for the Alton Telegraph. You can check that out over there. You can subscribe.
Oh, this is why
I'm
a zoo primary. I had no idea when he came up with this.
We skipped the blue segment to make sure we could pump his Alton Telegraph article. This is redonkulous.
Do a weekly column.
You know what, T-Bone? Get the dump ready. I'd like to say a curse word right now.
For the Alton Telegraph. I would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to that. I wrote about how Eli Drinkwitz has a chance this season to be the first coach to win 10 or more games in 3 consecutive seasons in program history. It's never happened, Alex. And some might say, BK, they only played like 8 or 9 games 100 years ago, so it's a little bit of an unfair advantage. It's fair. So I went by winning percentage. And the winning percentage of a team that gets to at least 10 wins is roughly the equivalent to what they had done a year. If you add it all up, Alex, they've still never done it 3 consecutive seasons. It's never happened before in program history. If Drinkwitz is able to do this, and he pulls off another 10-win season, how does it change, if at all, the way that he's viewed nationally, in your opinion? Or how should it change the way that he's viewed? Because to me, I think it puts him into that, like, upper echelon of coaches. Like, Lance Leipold is considered to be a very good coach for what he's done at Kansas because it's really hard to win there. I think Eli Drinkwitz should be right there with him. I think he should be considered in that upper echelon with a Matt Campbell, for example, who's doing a really good job at Iowa State. Do you agree with that? Is that how you think it should change the way that he's viewed?
Yeah, I do, because we were going back through it, looking at the tiers list of the college football coaches on The Athletic, and the fact that he's 3rd tier, a little surprising to me, but I mean, I guess I understand it because, like, in terms of winning, we really haven't seen that level of it in terms of getting to the playoffs and having any success. But, man, if you go 3 seasons with double-digit wins in the SEC, which is the toughest conference, and also look at the roster turnover that he's gone through in terms of personnel, I don't know how you wouldn't consider him a top-tier coach in college football for maintaining that level of success with a tough SEC schedule and where they've lost different coordinators, they've gone through different quarterbacks, they've gone through different skill players on the team that have been drafted or have moved on elsewhere. That's the definition of success in college football as a coach, if you still find ways to win in double digits.
Yeah, I think right now, like, being in that 3rd tier feels right to me for Eli Drinkwitz, and I agree with that for Brett Bielema. He's in that tier right now. I think if you can get to that 10 win for the first time in 3 years, I do think it puts him up into that 2nd tier of, like, coaches that you look at and go, yeah, that guy's a winner, right? You just look at him and you just know it right away. That guy's a winner. Like, guys in this on The Athletic, Ryan Day, James Franklin, Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkisian, like, names like that. You just look at those guys and say, okay, yeah, that guy's a winning head coach. I think that would move Eli Drinkwitz into that category. And it's a little different because it's not a power program in a Big Ten or SEC conference like some of those coaches that I mentioned there. But the Leipold one at Kansas, the Kyle Whittingham at Utah, like you're not at a program that you're supposed to have sustained success. And if you're able to do 10+ wins for 3 straight seasons, you belong in that second tier.
I think even maybe above some of these names that you're mentioning, T-Bone. And I know that might sound like a total homer thing to say, and maybe it is. But like Kalen DeBoer, for example. Kalen DeBoer did not do anything that should have excited anybody last year. At Alabama, what he did was a disappointment. Mm-hmm. He had a ton of success at Washington. He also did so with one quarterback. Now, this is something that I always try to kind of push back against a little bit is I want to see what you do with multiple recruiting cycles. I want to see what you do with multiple different quarterbacks. Because there's a lot of coaches that can have success if they have a quarterback that transcends the program, right? This was one of the big questions early on about Gary Pinkel at Missouri is, okay, so Brad Smith was successful, but he took you to a certain level. And then you get Chase Daniel in there who takes the program to another level. Can you sustain that? The answer for Gary Pinkel was a resounding yes. He was able to. He found his new quarterbacks, and he was able to continue that level of success. For many coaches, the answer is no. And they just had a quarterback that took them to a new level, and then they go right back down to where they were previously. And there are some that are propped up a bit by the program at which they're coaching, right? Like some coaches, it's hard to do too much to screw up a program like Oregon right now. Like the floor there is like 8 wins, right? At a place like Missouri, dude, if you're not a good coach, you can win 5. It's possible. Illinois, same thing, right? If you don't do a really good job there,
be at 2.
There have been a lot of coaches that have done extremely poorly at a place like Illinois. So for me, if you're Eli Drinkwitz and you show with multiple different quarterbacks now, you had Brady Cook, now you're having to do it with somebody else. You had multiple different pass catchers. You had Luther Burden, now you're doing it with somebody else. It would show me that Drinkwitz is more than just a one recruiting cycle success story. And you are able to build it up, go through a bit of a down, and then build it back up once again. That's what makes Matt Campbell so special to me. Campbell has done this at Iowa State with multiple quarterbacks, multiple recruiting cycles. He's just been a really successful coach for an extended period of time. Drinkwitz would, in this scenario, show a ceiling and a consistency, the likes of which we haven't really seen at Mizzou since Gary Pinkel. The other question that I had for you guys on college football, I'm not a fan of Dabo. That's not my guy. I'm not a huge fan of the way that he operates. I think he is behind the times. I think he was a pre-transfer portal success story. And once the portal became a big thing in college football, we have seen the decline of Clemson from where it was pre-portal. Basically, COVID season happens, they start going in the other direction. And that's roughly the time when the portal became what it is now. Alex, there are a lot of expectations for Clemson this year. A lot of people are excited about what they could be. They return a ton of production. They've got a quarterback that a lot of people are believing in. What does this year mean for the way that Dabo Swinney is viewed nationally?
That it was all kind of, man, it feels so aggressive to say that it's all kind of a facade, but I mean, it goes to show you kind of what you said, that he was a pre-transfer portal coach in college football. Because when you think about the success of Dabo Swinney, you think of who? You think of Trevor Lawrence and you think of Deshaun Watson. You think of 2 quarterbacks that they got and didn't have to worry about the transfer portal. And then when transfer portal stuff happens, you can't keep the same guy, or you're not able to find the right guy like you were with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. And he's still a double-digit win coach, but this is different than us talking about Mizzou or Illinois. We're talking about Clemson, who is viewed as somebody who should be in the college football playoffs every single season. So I don't want to say it makes it look like a fraud, but it's definitely not the top-tier quarterback that I think a lot of people assume Dabo Swinney is.
Yeah, I think if they miss expectations this year again, it would be a reminder of, okay, Dabo once was a guy that could build a championship caliber roster in college football. He's no longer that. And whether you want to blame that on the fact that he doesn't go to the portal, which would be the number one thing I would circle, or you want to blame it on, hey, the ACC is just not as strong a conference as it once was, either way about it, Dabo Swinney, if he can't get them over the hump when he is returning the kind of production that he is, which is most of it, I think it's most production in college football, and he's got his quarterback that everybody loves in Cade Klubnik, if he can't do it this year, then there's going to be a lot of people looking at him and going, okay, he's behind on the times, and until he catches up, he's not going to be able to build a powerhouse at Clemson anymore.
Yeah, I I think Dabo's a good coach. He's not my style, but he's a good coach. This year will tell me what the ceiling is with him at Clemson. Because Clemson views itself as a national program, a team that could consistently contend for a national championship. And if this year he's not able to get it done, I mean, you look at where they finished in the AP poll in that stretch of time. Second, first, fourth, first, second, third. And then 14, 13, 20, 14. Something changed, and what changed was the transfer portal, and he's been very public about how he doesn't view that as the way to build a team in college football. He does not view that as his preferred method of building a team, at least. Yeah, exactly. They really believe in that, and that's how you get this returning production, by the way. Like, what he's saying is not entirely baseless. But eventually you have to show the results of the way that you want to build. When I'm seeing teams like Notre Dame have success in a different way, Alabama have success in a different way, Ohio State's having success in a different way. And not just success, they're winning titles this way or getting to the national championship game. Clemson hasn't done that in a really long time, man. It's been 6 years. We're talking about the same amount of time since the Cardinals have been viewed in that light. That's how long it's been since Clemson has been viewed in that light. So eventually you've got to show it. This is the year where I think it's got to come together. Otherwise, I don't know if that's the coach that they continue building around in the long term. I don't think that means he's a bad coach. It just might not be the guy that ultimately gets them over the top at Clemson once again. And I'm curious to see what they decide to do in that scenario. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we're going to talk to Jeremy Rutherford. He's the Blues insider for The Athletic. But next, it's time for the junk drawer here on BK and Ferrario. All right, we had mentioned earlier, I put a poll out on this.
Of course you did.
Would the Cardinals signing Kyle Schwarber this offseason incentivize you to go to the ballpark next year? 57% of the responses, Alex, say yes.
Yes.
They're all liars.
Kyle Schwarber has 45 home runs this year. Over on Baseball Savant, they look at, okay, how would that translate? Based upon how hard he hits the ball, how far he hits the ball, the flight path of the ball, etc. How many home runs would he have in different ballparks? So at his current stadium in Philadelphia, he would be expected to have 45. He has actually 45. If he played here in St. Louis, how many home runs do you think Kyle Schwarber would be expected to have based upon the current status of his homers?
I'm going a couple more because center field's deeper there. So maybe there's some that's flyouts. I think left center, there's like a big wall, so maybe kind of strips. I'll go 48.
How do you know the construction of these ballparks?
I watch the Phillies.
God, you're a nerd just like BK.
He uses his eyes, man.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, because that's what I'm doing the whole time. I'll say lower 37.
34.
Yeah.
34 homers.
Yeah.
Cardinals fans would be furious.
Yeah.
Signed this guy, he can't even get to 40 home runs this year.
You got to take a little bit more out of this one because it's the Cardinals, and they're going to work on his swing a little bit because the development's not there. I'd say he's probably about 29.
Yeah, the lowest number for him in any ballpark is actually the Cardinals. It's at Busch Stadium. That's 34, and it's tied with the White Sox ballpark.
Well, sorry, Missouri, Steven, but
expected at 34.
Bombs don't happen at Busch Stadium.
See, maybe what we're learning here is our guys actually do have power. It's just being taken away because
the DeWitts
of the
need
ballpark.
to pull the outfield in a little bit.
Pull the fences in?
Well, that's not fence. I'm not going to call it a fence.
Okay.
It's an outfield wall.
I thought you were about to say they need to move Ballpark Village. I thought that's what you were going for.
Well, just pull everything in.
Change it. They're doing that Millennium Hotel soon.
Yeah.
Next couple of years, they're expecting to do
down the street.
Kind of, yeah, but it changes the wind.
It looks closer.
Apparently, that's part of the problem is like the wind tunnel issues.
But maybe when it starts moving again, the top part moves, maybe when they get it to move a little bit more, it'll pick it up.
Genuinely asking, what are you talking about?
The top of the Millennium Hotel, it rotates, or it used to rotate.
I didn't know what you were talking about moving.
You were going like...
Oh no!
Are you talking about the stadium?
When they get the top, when they get the top part of the Millennium Hotel, it'll start to rotate and it'll be a windmill. It'll start pulling it.
Mobile homes, you can pick them up and transport them elsewhere. I thought you were talking about like Busch Stadium is going to be transported
That's the best part of a mobile home. Probably you can move it wherever you want to live. That'd be good too. You could move it to St. Charles.
Yeah, put it where the data center was supposed to be. All right, Alex, I do want to talk about.
That was the jump chart.
Did you see this story about Babe Ruth?
No.
Yeah, I saw it this morning.
I did not see this.
A Tennessee man with the same name as the New York Yankees legend Babe Ruth is facing charges alleging that he used the names of hundreds of dead or retired baseball players to make phony claims for payouts in class action lawsuits. Now, there's a lot more to this. This guy seems like a real grade A
Was he
piece of
scamming people that people believed he was Babe Ruth?
Apparently. Okay, apparently it wasn't just Babe Ruth. Like, he's using dozens of different names.
Like current players or dead players that have been dead for like 60 years?
All the above. Okay. I think mostly like retired and dead baseball players. Now, he's also got a bunch of other stuff, but he attempted to obtain more than $500,000 through the scheme. He sought payouts and lawsuit settlements ranging from contact lens pricing allegations to claims of racial discrimination against staffing agencies, a bunch of other stuff. This guy's a real stinker.
He's a dirtbag.
Can you imagine you're named something, right? Like you get the name Babe Ruth as a kid, like that's what your parents named you. And then you use that to try to defraud a system. Just wild.
I mean, yes,
absolutely
but I also have to look at
Ruth.
I also have to look at the other side that believes that it's actually Babe Ruth.
What?
Like, did people really give him money thinking that it was Babe Ruth?
I don't know.
Because that's a little problem.
There was like identity theft, so he stole social security numbers. Like there was a lot.
Because isn't this the equivalent of somebody on Instagram that's, says that they're...
I think it's slightly different when you have the social security number.
Like, yes, but...
Of the victims.
Wouldn't you believe that, it's not Babe Ruth because he's dead?
You're getting stuck on Babe Ruth. He used hundreds of names.
No, I understand that, but the people that he used of dead people for like 30 years, wouldn't you think that this person's not real?
I don't know how this works. I think that sometimes stuff gets lost,
I guess,
in the cracks.
I'm not trying to downplay it because people fall to fraud a lot. I guess I just I'm always confused as how people fall for that. But again, I've never been caught in it. So I guess if you fall for it, like you've been caught in it at some point, and it's not an easy thing to get out of.
I don't know what to say.
You got any thoughts? You seem to have some interest in the
T-Bone, you
story,
seem like
but don't really want to
like a guy that would
on the air.
You seem like a guy that would Venmo somebody that says they're
comment.
Babe Ruth.
No, I would not fall for a Babe Ruth. Now, I nearly fell for when a buddy of mine's Instagram got hacked, and they said, "Hey, check out this deal on this TV that I bought." And I went, "Oh, I am looking for a TV."
Everybody's falling for that one, though.
Yeah.
Like, I've fallen for that, to where you think you won something, and then you, like, send it, and you're like, whoa. I mean more like fraud with celebrities.
I guess
or
it just
fraud
depends on,
with, like, famous people.
What does it, like, if this guy, like, sends me a message and hit Babe Ruth and his, like, Instagram picture is the Babe?
I don't think that's what it is.
I don't think that's why, like, that's why I don't think it's that surprising people got
He's getting
tricked.
something through a subsidiary of Major League Baseball that's paying retired players for some kind of a settlement that took place. It's like that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
This is not like he's going to people and saying, "I'm Babe Ruth" as an impersonator.
That's what I
And he's
thought,
doing,
which
like,
I'm thinking,
the Pete Rose thing
what's
where
wrong
he's
with you?
standing outside of a Dick's Sporting Goods and signing something for you. That's not what he's going at here. I think this was a little more of a con man than something.
I don't think
worth
this
that.
was like small.
It wasn't an impersonator. This
Yeah.
was a true fraud that was taking place. All right, coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into Bet It or Forget It. But next, Jeremy Rutherford, Blues Insider. We're finally talking Blues, and we'll do it with JR next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone on BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by the Blues insider for The Athletic, one of the co-hosts of the Last Minute Blues podcast. He's Jeremy Rutherford joining us here on BK and Ferrario. JR, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Anytime. Doing well. Just trying to help you guys get to some Blues talk here.
Yeah, well, it's tough to do when you've got me in charge of kind of driving us in and out of segments. We end up talking a lot of Cardinals in the first hour, then the Travis Kelce news break. So what? How are we supposed to
Clemson? Had to get into Clemson a little bit today, too.
Yeah.
Had to really get talking about Dabo Sweeney's future.
Yeah, when people ask me where were you when you heard about the Kelce Swift engagement, getting married, I will tell them that I was listening to BK and Ferrario, and honestly, I thought you were going to text me and cancel the Blues interview. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Talk about that.
Jared, do you believe that love is actually real now for somebody who's been married for, 20-plus years, that now that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are together?
I can answer that if you can answer one question. Is my wife listening?
Absolutely, she is. She is a Tuesday, and she knows you're on BK and Ferrario, her favorite show on 101 ESPN.
Then love is real. But
There
yeah,
it is.
I mean, yeah, it's real. All right, how about the Blues?
All right, so the Blues, Jimmy Snuggerud, he talked with him recently, JR, and I think he's really the number one thing that people are hyped for going into the 2025 season, because we saw what it can look like at the end of last year. Now you get to see an extended taste of it. What did you learn from your conversation with Jimmy Snuggerud?
Well, a number of things, guys. And one thing that really stuck out to me is that when I talked, and Alex and Donnie Fandango on the Last Minute Blues podcast, when we spoke with Steve Ott, I love the fact that he didn't go straight to Jimmy Snuggerud's shot and his offensive potential when he talked about Jimmy Snuggerud in the pod. He said that, listen, we saw a guy who has vision, who can make plays. We saw at the end of the season, he's lifting sticks. He's doing some of the little things. And so I did ask Jimmy Snuggerud about that, what Steve Ott had to say about him. And he said, man, coming from a guy who's spent so much time in the league, been around, and been the type of player he is for such a long time, it's just such a great compliment. So he's looking forward to, we kind of joked about him not having to go to school this fall. This is the first time in, 17 years that Jimmy Snuggerud won't be off to school with the backpack. So he's looking forward to establishing a home in St. Louis and getting this, as he called it, full hockey all the time. And so what I heard in Jimmy Snuggerud's voice is a guy who's put the work in this offseason. We'll touch on this, I'm sure, but gained 11, 12 pounds. He said, depending on the day, I guess it's if he had ice cream that night, up to 197 pounds. So Blues fans will be excited to hear about that. And a guy who's looking forward to landing in St. Louis and getting his first full season in the NHL started.
Yeah, on piggybacking off of that, JR, and I'm sure we'll get to it at some point on BK and Ferrario when we're not talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. But, the one thing that came to mind for me was when we talked with Zach Bolduc a couple of years ago, going into the offseason where he scored 5 goals in 25 games, he talked about, I need to put on muscle in the offseason because I want to make sure that I'm bigger so guys can't move me off the puck. And then we all saw what happened with Zach Bolduc last season, became a guy that you viewed as a 20-plus goal scorer consistently. Could that be similar to what Jimmy Snuggerud has the opportunity to do with this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, he's spent a couple years in college hockey, right? And he's 21 years old. So you're talking about a guy who isn't just 18 coming out of the draft, and he's still immature physically. Here's a guy who's been in the weight room the past couple of years at the University of Minnesota, but not like he did this offseason with the Blues in terms of their training program. And so, he mentioned everything from changing up his weights and also, talking about gaining weight. He said having shakes late at night. Again, not to go back to the ice cream, but I have shakes late at night, but he has whey protein. I have Dairy Queen. And so here's a guy who realizes what it takes based on that small sample size. We're talking just 14 games, 7 in the regular season and 7 in the playoffs. He looked the part skill-wise, but again, in his words, he said, you saw me out there. I looked like a little guy, didn't I? So I knew that in order to be able to battle in the corner and win some of these battles, I had to put on some size. And listen, he's not the first player to say that in the past few years even. A lot of these young Blues players come up and realize they got to put on size. But a lot of them struggle doing it, and then a lot of them struggle to keep that skill and play the way they can with their body changing, and that's what we'll see in terms of what Jimmy Snuggerud can do when he gets to camp.
Jeremy Rutherford is our guest here on 101 ESPN. Check out his Q&A with Jimmy Snuggerud over on The Athletic. You can find the link on his Twitter account at JP Rutherford. JR, you mentioned to us that there was a comment that was made recently by Blues defenseman Philip Broberg. Can you give us a little bit of information on what he had to say about his contract status?
Yeah, with Philip Broberg, going into the interview that he's pretty quiet and soft-spoken, and he was in this interview. What happens is prior to the season, they'll have the NHL player tours where the media can go to both Europe and interview the European players who aren't quite over to North America yet, or they'll go to Vegas soon where Robert Thomas will represent the Blues, and the reporters will be out there. So Philip Broberg was in Milan, Italy this past week, and our colleague at The Athletic, Mike Russo, asked if I had any questions for Philip Broberg, and I passed along the question about his contract because as of July 1st, he's entering the final year of his deal with the Blues, a 2-year deal that came with the offer sheet, and so he's now eligible to sign an extension. And do you want to get that done sooner than later type question? And he said, I really loved my first year in St. Louis, just really excited for this year too. And he said, I'm excited for what's to come in the future as well. So, not much said in terms of, is he saying he wants to sign with the Blues or doesn't want to sign with the Blues? But I think when a player, sometimes you try to read between the lines with these guys, he's excited about the future with this franchise, this organization. I think he sees a home here. And look, it doesn't always work out. You see, Rantanen traded to Carolina. He didn't feel like that was a fit, and then he winds up going to Dallas on the big contract. It's not always assumed that a player goes to a city, especially a guy like Broberg from Sweden, goes to Edmonton and then bounces to St. Louis. How's he going to fit in? Does he like it? I think all accounts Philip Broberg likes it here, and he sees a future here is what I get from his comments.
Jared, just your opinion on this. Who do you think is going to be tougher to get re-signed if you're the Blues, Holloway or Broberg?
Yeah, good question. And I think what makes it tougher, pretty obvious here, is the different positions. But the bottom line is you're projecting futures, right? And I think if you're the Blues, you probably have a good feeling about what they're capable of moving forward. But it's still hard when you look at Holloway, close to 30 goals, and then he gets hurt. Is he a perennial 30-goal scorer in the league? If you think he is, you might think that, okay, can we get him at $7-8 million? Well, guess what? The cap's rising, and now those types of guys are wanting $8-9 million. I think that could be tough to get that done if you're the Blues based on the small sample size. Now, with Broberg, I think when you look at a lanky defenseman who can skate like as well as Broberg can, and not only that, but he's known to kill plays and be a good defensive defenseman. But now last year he showed he can jump up in the rush. I mean, if Philip Broberg's charging the net in overtime like we saw a couple times, he's capable of ending the game. And so I think that he's a guy who, these guys are 23 years old. He's another $8-9 million guy, and does he want more with the cap going up? So, who's tougher to sign? I think that Holloway would probably be a little bit tougher just because you're still kind of projecting what type of goal scorer he is, or you're never going to question the effort. You're never going to question the intensity. But is he a 25-goal scorer? Can he be more? And I think that's going to be tougher for the Blues to put their finger on. And I think Broberg is a little bit easier in that regard.
JR, great to catch up. Thanks for forcing us to talk about the Blues for about 10 minutes here today on the show. We wish you all the best. We look forward to talking with you again soon, my friend.
All right, back to the Swifties. Thanks, guys.
That's right. Jeremy Rutherford. Appreciate his time as always. You can read his great work over at The Athletic and follow him on Twitter as always at JP Rutherford. You guys going to have a new Last Minute Blues podcast soon?
Going to have a new one tomorrow for everybody.
That?
Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to put one together. Lots of stuff to get into.
About?
Well, we've got a professional tryout contract that was signed last week that I'm sure we'll discuss. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of the Philip Broberg stuff. And I know a lot of people that have, whether it's been messaging JR and his mailbags on The Athletic, or I've been getting questions, it's about the line combination. So I think we're going to dive into that a little bit tomorrow.
I've got an idea on what they're going to be.
Oh, yeah? You got some insight?
Mm-hmm. Right up here in this noggin.
Oh, okay. Well, that won't really matter, so we'll move on to something else.
I got a couple of weeks away from training camp. Is that right?
Yeah, well, September 20th is the first game, and my guess is training camp's probably going to be September 17th, 18th, something like that. So
I tell you, I'm going to miss Blues and Brews this year. I'm actually disappointed. I like the Band
man, I do too. I told Katie.
That was a big gig.
I told Katie, I'm like, I am pumped to go see, because I got sick last year for Blues and Brews, so I didn't get to go. So now I get to go see Band Perry.
Yeah, I'll be hanging out in Vermont.
Band Perry or Vermont, T-Bone? I'm going the Band Perry.
I'm actually genuinely disappointed.
I know, that was a hell of a get-by. Tommy Mattern and his team, to be able to bring that group in, that's going to be really fun. And it's going to be a perfect weather out there. Probably get to see Nick Bukestad, Pew Suter, get some new guys out there. Probably. Maybe. Someone. I got a good quiz. I know you're trying to avoid Blues topics. This will be something that we can get into tomorrow, maybe.
Okay.
Just kind of idea bulb that popped up when we were talking Dylan Holloway. What if the Blues have Kyle Connor and Dylan Holloway?
I mean, that'd be good. I would like that.
The reason I asked that
is... What
is...
if they could have Kyle Connor and Dylan Holloway?
Oh, well, you can't do that because you have Jordan Kyrou, so you got to get rid of one of those.
Okay.
The reason I asked that is, you look at what Holloway did once they got past the Drew Bannister era and Montgomery took over. Holloway was on pace for an 82-game schedule, 32 goals and 82 points. Kyle Connor didn't hit 82 points until he got 93 in his 5th season in the NHL.
It is an interesting comparison.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's with the Jimmy Snuggerud dynamic of the goal scoring that they're potentially bringing in and what could have been with Dylan Holloway if he didn't get injured last season and what it would have looked like in the playoffs. I know everybody has been psyched about Kyle Connor. Something to keep an eye on, because JR's right. If you get Kyle Connor-esque, good luck getting that signed. But that needs to be the priority for the Blues because you don't have that in your system.
Yeah, I've told you this before. I think Holloway, outside of Robert Thomas, has the highest ceiling on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hole is in his game. He's a very good defensive forward. He's incredibly fast. He's strong on pucks. He's got a very good shot. He's a pretty darn good distributor as well. I think that was an underrated aspect of his game. He's good on the rush. He's good at 5-on-5. He's good on the power play. He's just really good at everything.
Yeah.
And he has an elite speed. So it's not one of those guys that's good at everything, not great at any one thing. He has an elite trait, unlike some of those players that are similar. So, I really like the comparison, and I think he has a chance to be one of the best players of this era for the Blues.
Yeah, and I mean,
got that kind of a ceiling.
Going back to that Kyle Connor one, it's what essentially opened up that winning window for Winnipeg and put him here. They had incredible players, but you had a 20-year-old Kyle Connor who scored 31 goals in 76 games, and then he becomes that top line piece that's already with Ehlers and Laine and Wheeler and Scheifele. Once you find them, it opens up even more potentials for teams, and that's where I find it fascinating with the Dylan Holloway season.
You've got Connor and Scheifele. That's been the top. That's been the duo for the Winnipeg Jets during this era, and you could have something similar.
And add in the Velarde element of what he's become for a top line with a Jimmy Snuggerud.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys have missed any of our show today, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That is all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
101 ESPN app, free to use, super easy to download. It is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Coming up next, better to forget at 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Rhino Shield who are changing the exterior of homes and businesses around the area. And I always love the conversations I have with Darren Owner over at Rhino Shield because he sends me some of the projects that they've been working on. And he sent over a building, a church that was built in 1876, steel and aluminum sidings. And now they've taken that Rhino Shield, that is, and they made it look brand new. So you've got this old building that looks brand new today, but still all of the history surrounding it. thanks to the work at Rhino Shield. And the reason they called Rhino Shield is because they're not using paint. They're not just putting something on their building that's going to deteriorate over time. Rhino Shield uses a ceramic coating that sticks 8 to 10 times thicker than any paint that you're going to buy at the hardware store. It's 100% waterproof. It deflects 90% of the UV rays, plus you're getting a 25-year transferable warranty thanks to Rhino Shield. And there's plenty of other buildings around that have taken advantage of Rhino Shield's work. So if you're in the market for your home, for your business, call Darren at Rhino Shield. Tell him Alex Ferrario sent you. 877-25-RHINO, 877-25rhino.com.
Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are betting it or forgetting it here on 101 ESPN. All right, Alex, let's start out with this. Bet it or forget it. The Houston Texans win fewer than 9 games this year. They go under 500 this season. Saw some news yesterday that it sounds like Joe Mixon's going to be out for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Could have seen that one coming.
Their offensive line, that was already bad last year, has lost some of their best starters from a year ago. It's Nico Collins and then Christian Kirk and a whole lot of rookies as the receiving core. Bet it or forget it. The Houston Texans win fewer than 9 games this year, Alex.
I think I might bet this one. They didn't give me good vibes last season from, and I know the problems that they had in terms of offensive line. Their defense was not as good as I thought it was, but there were moments where the coaching decisions didn't make a whole lot of sense. So they've got a pretty tough schedule if you look at what the Texans have to go through this season. I think they still have talent. Nico Collins is still incredible, and I still like the upside of C.J. Stroud, but I'll bet this one. I don't think this is going to be a successful season for Houston.
I'm going to forget this, I think. I think they will win 10 games still, avoid fall into that 9, 8, maybe less, just because they're in the AFC South. I think the AFC South gives them so many benefits. I mean, that's 6 games that they should be favored in, so that's 6 wins right there potentially. So I'm going to say forget this. I still think they'll get there. I think they'll be a lot like last year, though. They'll be like 10-7 and not a team you really trust.
Man, other than their division opponents, some gauntlet teams on there.
I'm betting this. I think they go below 500 this season. I think they're the team in the AFC that takes a pretty significant step back. I think they win like 8 games, maybe 7. I just don't trust their infrastructure right now. I don't trust their offensive line. I don't trust the fact that they're going to be an offense that's able to consistently put up points. I mean, would it surprise you, Alex, if they start the season this year, I don't know, 2-5?
No.
At the Rams, Tampa at home, at the Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans at home, at Baltimore, at Seattle. I mean, they might win one of those games. If they lose one of the games against Jacksonville or Tennessee, it could be a pretty ugly start to the season. And once you start like that, dude, the wheels fall off very quickly in the NFL. It's extremely hard to keep everybody pulling in the same direction because that's when the finger pointing starts. So I think they could end up getting off to a really tough start. Now, Alex mentioned this as well. You got Buffalo on that schedule. You got Kansas City on the road on the schedule. You've got at the Chargers. It's not easy. I think they could end up going and becoming a much worse team than what we saw a year ago. Alex, what do you got for us?
Guys, bet it or forget it. The Blues will have 3 30-goal scorers this season. And by the way, I am still going back in this right now, and they have not had it for, I'm in the 2009s right now, and I still haven't seen a team that has had 3 30-goal scorers.
For the Blues you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
I mean, who's the last team in the NHL that had that?
I think last year there was a team that
Yeah, I think there's teams that have that.
It feels hard to
Yeah,
accomplish.
I think Florida did that a couple of years, or 2 years ago,
What
if
have
not
they
last
done?
year. Well, you're not wrong there. 2008, 2009, the Blues had 2 of them.
Yeah, I can find this for you here in just a second. I'll say forget it just because it is such a high bar to clear. But they do have some candidates for it. I mean, Holloway could do it. Booch could do it. I know people are completely down on Booch right now. I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
They're going to use him as a winger this year.
Since 2000, they haven't had it, Alex, so you can stop your scrolling.
Well, I'm in the 90s now, so I'm going to find the date.
The last time that they had this was 1988.
Oh, my God.
Did it in 88, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81, and 1979.
Who was on that team?
Fedorko on
say
all of
Fedorko.
those teams.
Sutter.
Gilmore, Sutter. Yeah, those were the primary ones.
Yeah, my whole thought process with this, and history tells me I should forget it, but, it's this time of the year where I'm optimistic. I think Kairu's a given. And then I'm going 2 of the other 3 with Holloway, Buchnevich, or Thomas. And I think because of the offensive upside and the depth, I would lean on betting this. I think 3 is possible. 4 was my original thought, and I think 4 is crazy. Yeah. 3, I think, is doable.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I would lean towards forget it. I think you could have Kairu. Kairu's a lock for it, in my opinion. Holloway, one's called a lock, but called close. And then I think you're probably a year away from this because I think you need Snugger to become that guy. I don't think Booch is any longer the 30-goal scorer. I don't think Thomas is getting there. He hasn't shown the willingness to get to 30 goals. I think the one guy you're hoping for to eventually cover you for this would be Snugger, and I think he's going to need a year, maybe 2, to get to that spot, so I would say forget it.
How many teams do you think had 3 30-goal scorers last year?
I want to say 2.
I was thinking 1, but
5.
Wow.
Tampa had 4, and then Dallas, Toronto, Pittsburgh, interestingly enough, and Washington all had 3. Crosby, Raquel, and Rust all had 30-plus goals a year ago. In 2024, there were 3 teams that did this: the Islanders, the Canucks, and the Tampa Bay Lightning.
there's a couple teams on this list.
The Canucks make sense. Tampa Bay Lightning always makes sense. Islanders don't.
In 2023, everybody did it. 1, 2,
Every-
3,
all 32
4,
teams?
5,
32.
6, 7, 8, 9 teams accomplished this in 2023.
Okay, so this isn't as rare
I
as I
wasn't that
thought.
far off.
Yeah, no, it's not crazy to
For some
think.
reason, I was thinking that was rare. I don't know why.
No,
It's
yeah.
like, I guess maybe I was
40's
thinking
rare.
like 30 home runs.
40's
That's kinda
rare.
Definitely.
40.
Yeah, 40 is like the 40 home run thing that we were talking about. It's hard to get to 40 home runs.
30, I think, when you got good offensive players, I should say, and when you have depth, that's where you start to see it come through.
T-Bone?
Guys, bet it or forget it. Alec Burleson's going to finish this season with a plus 800 OPS. He is at 802 now and has been on a little bit of a tear since the All-Star break again.
Well,
He's
Burleson
having a really good year.
should have got the memo last night that this team's trying to get a top 5 pick. And don't need to be swinging for the fences late in extras.
Alec Burleson's just a really good baseball
He's a
player,
core
man.
piece of this team. Like, it was something I said at the midway through the season. It felt like Alec Burleson was performing to the level that the Cardinals needed. Plus, he changed the dynamic of how his offseason went, going from just a pure DH first baseman to turning into an outfielder for the Cardinals. He should be a future piece of this team.
He's a really good 5-hole hitter. A really good 5-hole hitter. If you had, like, man, this is what I keep going back to. I don't think the Cardinals are that far away from having what should be a pretty good offense.
Yeah, they just need a superstar.
That's the thing, is they're missing, like, the hardest thing to find. But if you tell me next year they come back with one of Nootbaar or Donovan at the top of the order, makes sense to me. You have somebody new, a stud, an absolute stud. I don't know who that player is. I don't have a name for you. But somebody new that comes in and bats second for you and is a stud, preferably from the right side.
Oh.
J.J. Weatherholt immediately comes in and is a 20 stolen base, 20 home run guy, hits 270, gets on base at a really high clip. Just a really solid 3-hole hitter for you. And then you've got Contreras, Burleson, Herrera, and then the rest of the guys that are already on the roster. Dude, that has the potential to be a top 10 offense in baseball next year. And on the pitching side of things, it's not that far either.
What?
If you've got Liam Doyle.
Oh, here we go.
And Sonny Gray. And you're able to find one other dude in there in the middle of your rotation that could be very good. The problem is, like, it's both so close to being attainable and so far away because what I'm describing are the hardest things to find in the sport. But to your question on Alec Burleson, bet it. I think he ends up with an 800 or better OPS.
Bet it.
I would bet it too because he's on a tear, and I think that's going to continue to September. It's wild to think. Now, it would take Herrera really getting hot down the stretch. Odds are he's probably going to miss this. It's wild to think that they could have 3 regulars that are 800 plus OPS because Burleson and Contreras are both at 802 right now. And then if, again, right now Herrera, because he's gone so cold, has fallen to 776. It's not crazy to think if he gets hot, he might be able to get back into the 800, if not close. It's kind of crazy to think that you could have 3 of those guys and yet feel like you are so far away offensively. I still think they would need probably 2 bats to help them because they just don't hit for enough power. But
I included JJ as one of those.
Yeah, I just don't know if JJ's going to be that guy. That's why I'm a little hesitant.
I get it.
But if he is, like, you're right. Then they are just the one piece away. Schwarber bombs. That would be the thing that could potentially get them over the top.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for Bet It or Forget It from the 618. BK is bleeping high. What an idiot.
That's Whoa.
In.
In.
Whatever game we're playing.
In.
From the 314, guys, Bet It or Forget It. Oscar Sundqvist finds himself as the odd man out this coming season. I think they're talking about like the 13th forward, not literally off the roster. But Bet It or Forget It, Sonny's your 13th forward. I'm forgetting that. I think he will end up being one of the 12. I think he's most likely your 4th line center.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you because your 3rd line is going to include Bukestad, Suter, Neighbors, and then your 4th line is going to be Walker, Toropchenko, and Sundqvist. So, yeah, I think the odd men out are going to be Joseph and Texier.
Yeah, I would say that he won't become the odd man out. I was thinking about it like maybe partly through the year, but that would require Joseph and Texier playing very well to get into the lineup and then force Bukestad down to the 4th line center, and I don't see that happening.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service X line for Bet It or Forget It from the 636. Guys, Bet It or Forget It, the Cardinals will trade for Adley Rutschman from Baltimore this offseason.
Isn't he a lefty?
I think he's switch.
Yeah,
is he?
I think he's a switch hitter. I'm going to say forget it. I just don't think that they have what it's going to require.
Yeah.
They want pitching, and the Cardinals don't have any.
And he's struggled behind the plate this year for Baltimore, which doesn't really answer the question because if you're acquiring him, I know you're going for the bat, and obviously he has struggled as well, but you're also looking at that saying, well, we need the position, and we need you to be the catcher. So, yeah, I don't think this is something that the Cardinals would do.
Yeah, I would forget this. Though I'm kind of intrigued by the name, I worry that his offense just isn't going to be the same, so you'd be disappointed by what you acquire. BK's right. The Cardinals, I think Baltimore's going to be looking for Major League pitching, and the Cardinals just don't match up with them there.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Last one here from the 309. Alex, Bet It or Forget It. Bennington will finish in the top 3 for Vezina this year.
I'm going to keep saying bet it.
Forget it.
I'll forget it as well. He's a postseason goalie, not a regular season goalie.
What will be against him is I don't know how many games he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but
like 35.
I think the defense is going to be improved. I think Jim Montgomery's going to have the team in front of him better, and I think his numbers look improved. So I'm going to say bet it.
What do you guys think was the last time the Cardinals had 3 players finish with at least an 800 OPS or better?
2022.
Yeah, 22.
23. Would you believe that? Isn't that crazy? 2023, when the team was absolutely dreadful. Gorman, Goldie, and Contreras all had an 800 OPS or better.
Oh, one Arenado?
Gorman's the
Interesting.
surprising one. Goldie and Contreras make sense.
I remember, now that you say that, I do remember Gorman having a great year in 23.
Yeah,
but
23, he was legitimately good. That's when we got excited about Nolan Gorman. Arenado that year was at 775. So they had those three plus a 775 OPS, and they were just one of the worst teams in all of
They did it in
Major League
22 also, didn't they?
Yeah, because
22
was
yeah.
above 800.
22 and 23. Look at that.
Yeah,
2022 Pujols was at a 900 OPS for the season. What a ridiculous
And he
What a
was at,
season that was.
Look at his first half. His first half OPS was like 600
He
or something
considered
crazy.
retiring
Yeah.
because he was so bad.
And then in the playoffs that year, everybody just forgot how to hit.
Michaelis was one pitch away.
Yeah, so was Palante. Yeah. And so was Helsley.
I was going to say, so was Helsley.
Helsley was one that was really one pitch away.
Yeah. All right. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll hit the rewind. But next, the Cardinals are getting high praise for where this farm system ranks right now. What does it mean for them? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN.
T-Bone here to tell you about DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, which is coming soon here to the Show Me State. Later this football season, you'll be able to bet same-game parlays, money lines, props, and more right here in Missouri. Whether you're backing Kansas City to dominate on Sundays or sweating your hockey picks, DraftKings Sportsbook brings everything you want to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting from home with the top-rated sportsbook trusted by millions. Safe, secure, and ready to deliver the action like never before. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my code 101WXOS now to gear up for the launch in Missouri and be first in line for exclusive promos and can't-miss offers. That's code 101WXOS in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Terms at DraftKings.com/sportsbook, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Tanner Henderson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals took down the Pirates yesterday with a walk-off home run from Alec Burleson. Game 2 of their 4-game set against Pittsburgh is tonight. 6:45 will be first pitch. Mitch Keller is on the mound for Pittsburgh. Andre Palante will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. BK and Ferrario is here on 101 ESPN. There's a tweet that was posted yesterday via Talkin' Baseball. Tonight's paid attendance for the Cardinals of 17,675 was the lowest in the history of Busch Stadium 3 and the first time they've ever sold less than 20,000. Derek Gould responded to this with the quote tweet.
Uh-oh.
Wild replies here, inevitable reference to the best fans in baseball touted by at many MLB ballparks, used eagerly or derisively towards St. Louis. But it was never a synonym for only crowd size. It was also a compliment for vibe, for applauding opponents, and for appreciating quality play. So, ... I do think, Alex, and I say with all respect to this fan base, if you are going to call yourself the best fans in baseball, this is like the criticism that comes when there's fewer people in the stadium. That's part of what comes with it, man. Mm-hmm. You know, like what has made St. Louis so different from other markets, and I truly mean this, is that it didn't really matter if the club was having a great year or a mediocre year. Fans were still there. It was one of the very few places in America that a player could go and would know, hey, every night there's going to be 40,000 in attendance. Or at least that's going to be the announced attendance. And like almost every night there's at least 30,000 out there. And now it does feel different because that's not the case. You can't say that anymore. Now, that is not a critique on the fan base. I totally understand why you wouldn't be going to games right now. I don't blame you. It's cool, man. If this is how you want to make your voice heard, that is your prerogative, and you deserve to be able to do so as a fan. You choose how you spend your money for stuff like this. But, yeah, like, when the best fans in baseball thing is thrown upon you, it's also going to be used against you. I think that's totally understandable.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. When you tout something as long as you do, you become public enemy number one. And when things don't go your way and you start to struggle, everyone brings back up what you were bragging about. I mean, I've seen it with the Colorado Avalanche over the last couple of years for how much they brag, and then it comes back at them. So the reason I kind of chuckled at that was because, like, I agree, 2 of the 3 of what Derek Gould is talking about here, like applauding opponents, appreciating quality plays. I've heard so many players reference that on post-game scrums or after their career, talking about how, I mean, I got an applaud for a play, and I'm on the other side, and my team's winning. The part that I chuckled at was the first one where he said a compliment for the vibe. And the vibe that's not there right now is because the team's not good.
No doubt.
And they're always the best fans in baseball. It's something that they can proudly tout. But I think the best fans in baseball are showcasing that if you don't treat us like the best fans in baseball, we're not going to treat you like the best fans in baseball. And that's where this team's at right now.
All right. So earlier today, Kylie McDaniel, he works for ESPN.com. He does excellent work. We have him on the show pretty regularly here on BK and Ferrario. He put out his rankings of the top farms.
T-Bone's like, well, when we get him on, which
we'll see.
We're struggling with that one. It's a Buster. Did you call him by the wrong name again?
We had Buster on recently, by the way.
I was here for that, actually.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Did you forget that I was here for that interview?
Sure did. Okay. So the Cardinals are ranked number 9 overall. I'm glad you felt that because I 100% did.
Well, I've worked with you long enough. I know when that feeling is. I think I asked him a question where he said, great question.
The Cardinals are 9th in this ranking of the best farm systems in Major League Baseball. They were at 19 before the season began, Alex, so they have improved in that regard. Here's the write-up. As Chaim Bloom takes the reins from John Mozeliak as the president of baseball operations after the season, the Cardinals system is in the best shape that it's been in years. They ranked 10th after the 2022 season. Again, they're now up to 9th. J.J. Weatherholt and Liam Doyle are the most recent first-round picks and are also potentially impactful rookies for the 2026 clubs. There are more questions regarding the other team's top prospects, including Quinn Matthews and Tane Kentz, both of whom had up and down seasons. Cooper Jerpy and TK Roby had or have severe arm issues. Rhino Rodriguez and Joshua Baez came out of nowhere. Overall, solid depth in the system with a young talent in the big league, so I'm intrigued to see how Bloom will handle this team-building challenge. That last part, Alex, is maybe what intrigues me the most. I just want to see what it's going to look like under Bloom.
Yeah.
Because for all of the talk and all of the questions that we have, I truly don't know. I don't know what his plan is. And I think this is you know what? We haven't really talked about this a whole lot. This is part of the unintended consequence of them not having Chaim Bloom speak to the media this year is right now, this would be a great time for him to sell the future. Like right after the deadline would have been a great day, a week after, whatever. All right, that was the John Mozeliak era. The Chaim Bloom era begins now.
Well, that's not a good look on the Mo era.
Sure, but
hey Mo, congrats on retirement. He's gone.
Get the hell out of the way. I'm doing a press
if we're being
conference.
real, like that's basically what's happening. They're transitioning right now. It would have been good for them to be able to sell this to the fan base of, hey, we know this doesn't feel great right now. There is a plan in place, and here's what it looks like for us. I can't relay that to you guys right now because they won't tell us. Like, part of the job of the team is to relay the message to us so we can then relay that to you, the fans, or they do it directly to you, the fans, through us at some kind of a press conference setting. Chaim Bloom, I'm not kidding you guys, has not done an interview on the record this year. And I don't believe that's his choice. So it's a weird situation.
Well, and I mean, like, that is the way that they should do it. But the one thing about this Cardinals team is for the last 5 years, they don't know how to do good PR for their team. Yeah. So this is the, I'll tell you the part that's most intriguing to me is when you look through some of those names that they were referencing, and I understand there's some injury issues for some of these guys and just uncertainty, but they've got a lot of players that are viewed as top prospects for positions where there's multiple guys. Like, it gives Chaim Bloom the opportunity to wheel and deal in the offseason if they want to try and go out there and acquire something that they don't have. Like, what I'm meaning is you got 3 catchers right now in terms of Bernal, Rodriguez, and Jimmy Crooks that they're pretty high on. Now, I don't know how around Major League Baseball they're viewed, but all 3 aren't going to be playing for the Cardinals unless all 3 become outfielders for the Cardinals, which is very possible for how this team's operated.
But first baseman or DH.
Yeah, this is like Chaim Bloom.
No, he's played second.
Yeah,
you never know.
Chaim Bloom's got the opportunity to look at this and say, just like we've talked about with Doug Armstrong of acquiring all of these assets, all of these guys aren't going to make the Cardinals roster. This is the opportunity where another team that needs a catcher, you wheel and deal that player to go get what you're desperate for. They've got a lot of infielders in their system that are currently on the Major League roster. J.J. Weatherholt.
Nah, they're moving to the outfield.
Probably. That's where this one, or they're probably going to become pitchers at some point. But like, this is the intriguing part of what Chaim could potentially do. But again, it'd be great to find out. We will in November when they're still, uncertain about the direction of this team.
It's going to be great when he's not at the end of season press conference.
Mode holds it.
Yeah, they got to do another one because Chaim can't speak yet. Mo's not officially done. But
Mo will wrap up the season for us.
One thing that would be very helpful for the Cardinals, to BK's point on like messaging, is to Chaim to give an idea of like, hey, how far do you think this is, or how long do you think this is going to take? Because anytime we get asked of like, hey, who are guys that who are guys that are going to be traded? Chaim wouldn't come out and say, yeah, Newpark gone. But he would be able to say like, hey, when we do make moves, we're hoping for major league ready talent, or we're hoping for pitchers that aren't that far away. Or he could say, hey, this could be a process. We're just looking for best available. And what he would mean by that essentially is, hey, we think this is a multi-year process. You need to give us some time. But because they don't have anybody speaking to the media right now. I mean, we've been trying for what has been 3 weeks now to get one of the DeWitts on. There's no idea what the plan is, and what people assume of that is, okay, how much of a plan do they really have right now?
That's the thing. They may know. Internally, I have to imagine, they have
I would hope.
some kind of an idea on what their plans are, how long they anticipate this rebuild taking place, how the lockout plays into all of this, how the revenue changes play into all of this. Like they have some idea of all of these things. They just haven't shared it. And I don't know if Chaim Bloom is going to be revealing in what he has to say. It may feel very similar to the way that it did with John Mozeliak, where everything is very cloak and dagger. So there's no guarantee that he comes out, speaks to the media, and it gets better. It could be very similar, which will feel even worse because now it's just a changing of the face instead of a changing of the message. But I would I would take that risk if I was the Cardinals personally. I think it's better for them, and it's certainly better for us because then we can at least relay that to all of you guys, and we can have honest conversations about where this is likely to go. Because if it's going to get worse before it gets better, dude, it's better to find that out now than it is to find it out in the offseason.
And think about when the Blues, it didn't get like in a rebuild, but when they started the retool, you know what started happening a lot more? You started seeing Army's face a lot more. You know, and that's not to say
that's true.
That's not to say
Army
he didn't
was
speak
available
to the media when they were good and winning cups. He was out there a lot.
And
So
he
was
was
ownership.
But he didn't need to when they
Yes.
were winning cups, too.
Exactly.
Sure. Army was very Army has always been good with the messaging, don't get me wrong. It was more difficult to get Army on, for example, than it was when they were going through the struggles. And I think Army has just maintained that. He's been really good with us. So, we have zero frustrations with our availability for Army or for the Blues in general. They've been great working partners with us. But, when the Blues started to take that downward turn, you could feel it. There was a difference in the vibe, and he was open, he was honest, he was direct about where they were and what the process was going to look like. That is something that the Cardinals can learn from. I think sometimes the comparisons fall flat for me because the structure of the sports are so different. But that is one area that the Cardinals could definitely take a page out of the Blues playbook.
And the other thing, just to add on to that, Army also made his prospect development personnel available, too, to what you were talking about. Like, you haven't even heard Heim talk about what's coming. Doug made it apparent to make sure Bill Armstrong and Tony Feltrin were available, and Tim Taylor to speak hey, this is what we have in our system. This is how good it looks.
To be
that
fair,
stuff's happening.
Cifolio has been out there. I mean, he's been on the show. He's been on the Redbird Report. Check it out if you haven't. But he's been available.
And
it's the head.
We did talk to Flo. We talked to Flo right after the draft. He told us kind of what their plan was, what they were looking for. So we've had those people available. It's
the guy that's making the
but the guy
roster
that's
decisions
going to be overseeing
for the big
all of it.
leagues.
Yeah.
That's one that's been difficult to get in touch with. All right, somebody from the text line, before we get to the rewind on the other side, said, guys, what is Bloom's reputation for interacting with the media? Is he more of Armstrong or more of Mo? I think most baseball people are more in line with Mo than Doug Armstrong.
Yeah.
Most baseball people. And the rarity is DePoto, or who also has had some missteps, don't get me wrong, AJ Preller, Dave Dombrowski. Those guys are the rarity when it comes to their aggressive nature, their directness with the media, and then also following up with that with actions, right? So I do think it is probably going to sound more like Mo than what a lot of Cardinals fans would prefer. I also think that's just 25 general managers / president of baseball operations across baseball sound like that, act like that. So, I'm not telling you got to be excited about it, but I'm telling you, I think that's probably more in line with what
Basically,
he's
you're
doing.
going to get talked down to for the next 5 years.
I don't know about that. That I think is maybe a little bit more different, but not having a bunch of direct answers, not telling you specifically what the plan is, I think that's baseball. That's the way that a lot of these guys operate, because they try to invoke as much leverage as humanly possible into every negotiation. They're all scared as hell of losing any kind of a trade. They are looking at the numbers, and a lot of these decisions are 52% on one side, 48% on the other, so they get stuck in the middle.
Hopefully, though, if you're Heim, you've learned from past mistakes and you're seeing what's taking place right now to where maybe you change your personality for this upcoming role that you take over.
I wouldn't count on that one.
The rewind is next. Alex, the Fast Lane has a big interview coming up at 2:15 with Keith Kachuk, so we're going to get out of here as quickly as humanly possible. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page after the show today, 101ESPN.com, the free 101 ESPN app. That is sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
Alex, my grade for today, I'd give us an 8.2. I thought it was a pretty good show, really good first hour, and then we got the big Kelce news. Good show today.
Yeah, I was going to say 9.3, and then you ruined it with the Kelce stuff because I was so excited to be back. 8.7.
I'll go 8.1. Too much Kelce for my liking.
I like what you did there with
8.7. I'm
For
surprised
Alex
you
and
didn't get
T-Bone,
that.
I'm
You thought he was
BK.
77.
We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. The
7.7.
Fast Lane's coming up next. Keith Kachuk at 2:15 here on 101 ESPN.